Hey guys, how we doing? Only got a couple of you here. Who's here so far? Paula. Hi Paula. How are you? And Joe is here. Hi Joe. How's it going? Now I hope you guys did not take as bad a shellacking as I did at Saratoga on Saturday. And hey, Father Sean, how are you? Good to have you back amongst the electrified. I have not heard from Matthew. Yesterday he said tonight would be fine. And I just sent him a little note to remind him. Matthew's usually very true to his word, so I expect he'll be here. Hi, Debbie. How are you? Yeah, it was a tough day, Sean. It was tough. I'll tell you. I hit the first three, and I got a second in the Sanford, and I got a second in the not a second, but I booked in the mix for sure. It was a funny thing. All the horses I thought would get the early speed trips, the horses that won the race got them, but the horses I thought would get it didn't get that trip. If you were on the lead, you were gold, and that includes the turf. The turf was speed favoring, but I'll tell you that whole. I mean, I got Kensington Lane. I know Ernie Marshall got the pick five because because I put Kensington Lane in the mix. Um, but geez, I mean, yeah, it was brutal. We should have known something on Friday with Here's Johnny won, and he hadn't won anything, and he was still a maiden, and he won a stakes race. you know, Sanford did okay. Okay, I said, oh, good. Phil, yeah, that was the thing on Saturday. I had two races in a row. Uh, the Suburban and the race before, which I think was the Belmont Oaks, stumbled out of the gate twice, two in a row. Antiquated, once he stumbled out of the gate, that was it. And, when Ford Steele didn't make any attempt to get the lead, it was over. That race was over. The way the track was playing, um, I thought of all the horses, Ford Steele was the one who absolutely had to have the lead. And it turned out to be correct because he really didn't do very much. But yeah, if you got the lead, same thing had happened on Friday with the Schuylerville. If you got the lead, you were gone, and that was like we just picked the wrong horses to go to the lead. But there were some really crazy results. The final race, I hope to God none of you had that 21-1 shot in the final race because he got taken down, and that was painful. I didn't, but let's see. Crazy thing for me, I was whistling the Tonight Show theme all week before. Didn't even look at the races all weekend. It's a crazy game. It can be that way at times. Uh, I wonder that there may be Matthew may be delayed because Mary Rampolini, some of you may know, was a contributor to the Daily Racing Form for a lot of years, and apparently a really nice lady, and she passed away, and so there may be some entanglements along those lines. And if you're on X, a lot of people have spoken about it. I only know her from her articles, but yes, indeed, Debbie. She apparently was a really nice lady. 53 is way too early. And for those of us who have more yesterdays than tomorrows, yeah, that's way too early to go. But uh, I think it pretty much played the same both days. The lack of rain, I really think, is probably what led to such speed favoring conditions. And we got a downpour today. I don't know how much rain. I think they got a fair amount of rain up at Saratoga. So, um, and we Matthew and I talked about it at the Jim Dandy Bar towards the end of the day. I was talking with he and Kaylee Shapiro and her dad. By the way, I'd like to get on too. And Marty Shapiro, great guy, and he's like a pin hooker. He's in gives us good the owner's perspective. But we were talking about it how we didn't audible enough. Because of the conditions. And it was like, we should have just known. I mean, the Phillies fog in particular, I was like, literally when the race went off and Antiquarian stumbled at the break, I go, well, his race is over. And then when I saw Phillies fog go right to the lead and Ford Steele wasn't following him, I said, that's it. That could be very well be it. Because nobody, look at the other prime players in that race. Antiquarian, Hit Show, Tiztastic. None of them were going to be challenging for the lead, so it was pretty cake. And he ran a great race. I don't want to take anything away from Phillies fog. He ran an excellent race, but yeah, I hate that when horses run one way, they only can win one way, and then they don't run that way, and it screws up all your plans. Let's see who else is here. We got. Yeah, I got to get over to the pea patch. I hope everybody had a good and safe 4th of July. Oh, hey, Jamie, how are you? Jamie, I want to talk to you. I'll reach out on X, and but I want to. I got something good for you. Debbie. I mean, I think Tiztastic. If I remember back to that Louisiana Derby, it was kind of one of those that it wasn't a surprise, but it was a surprise kind of thing. As I recall, that race didn't come out very strong, and it wasn't that much of a surprise that Tiztastic won the race. But I will say I was ready to. A lot of people were very high on him for the Derby. I really wasn't. But we've seen what Steve Asmussen does with older horses. And Tiztastic, the track was against him yesterday. It was against all those late runners. Hit Show, too. I mean, Hit Show, you'd have to say, ran an excellent second, given the way the track was playing. But yeah, if you were coming from off the pace, you were doomed. There was no hope. I mean, yeah, I mean it was just one of those. You keyed him and saw, yeah, well, half right. That's the thing with the spa. A lot of times, I'll tell you just a kind of a non-handicapping thing. But when I watch Saratoga, there's two things that always kind of like are in the back of my mind for the dirt races, especially hot, and I wonder if they're going too damn fast. And it's just always been that way because it's just when they don't get a lot of rain, that's what happens with the track. I was there I guess it was 3 years ago when Maple Leaf Mel and New York Thunder. I was there for both of those, and I never want to see that again. That was really really hard. But that's like, when the track gets that hard and gets that dry when they haven't had any rain for a while, it's really hard to It's really hard to win anyway else. Father Sean, I am smoking a Bandolero Premium 50. I'd never tried these before. I had one yesterday. Really like it. Really smooth. It's got a Cameroon, well, a little bit of a Cameroon type of feel, but it's not a Cameroon wrapper. Earthy, little graham cracker, little cocoa, nutty. Really nice. Smooth. Um, I had never heard of them, but when you can only buy a 2-pack as opposed to a 5-pack, it usually tells you they're pretty good, and they are. Get them on small batch cigar. I will indeed, sir. Let's see. Joe says, I have followed Saratoga too closely, so I did find this info interesting. You haven't followed it closely. Okay. Yeah, it's I was bummed about it. Oh God, was that Jamie? The way the day was going for me, it was like that. I hit the first three in a row, and then it just. But that one was like, and because the race prior, the Belmont Oaks, I believe it was, Abashiri stumbled and then raced right up, and basically it was no hope after that. Kensington Lane ran well. I thought she would. I didn't think she would be that strong, but that's the way the track was playing. And if you were a horse who didn't have tractability and versatility, if you could only run from like mid-pack, you had no chance. No chance at all. And that was the case. I mean, we just watched one race after another. You got on the lead, you were gone. That was it. Except for time warp. And we had 4 seconds in a row, and he finally put it together and came. He was like the only horse who closed and won, except for Here's Johnny on Friday. And that was another one that, where did that come from? It was a nice day up there too, though. The weather was very accommodating. It wasn't nearly as bad as a lot of people thought it was going to be. Let me tell you, like I told you guys, I build submarines. I was in a 130-degree warehouse on Wednesday and Thursday, and I had to take Friday off. It wasn't a question of like if I wanted to, I had to, because it was so bad. It was the worst day in Rhode Island. Thursday was than in a long time. Yeah, Joe, you're right. I mean that's what it was. It just didn't feel like I could do anything right because and I tried to. Matthew and I are talking about it, like how you have to audible sometimes the way the track is playing. You have to get away from your game plan, and I've talked to you guys about it. Sometimes you got to just throw out your game plan. And it was kind of one of those days. And I tried to account for it in some regards. But, Abashiri was supposed to be an early runner. So I stayed with her and didn't know she was going to stumble out of the break and just lose every chance to win. And I had 3-8. That was my strongest exacta was Kensington Lane and Abashiri. So, but that's horse racing, as we say. But yeah, it was. It doesn't. I'll say this. Most of the time, there's enough chalk built into a card at Saratoga that you can, some like guaranteed winners, so you can be okay. And you're gonna get nailed by a bomb every once in a while. Phil Antonacci, I think early on he had a horse I liked pretty good, and a first time starter, as a matter of fact, and was a nice price. Did okay. David Donk threw one in. There was a little bit of a surprise. You're right, Sean. Yeah. I have a theory about Charlie Appleby. And I think that because he had so much success early with Rebels Romance and, everything he was modern games and everything he touched seemingly turned to gold he brought over here. I think he got a little cocky. And he brought this horse to Saratoga, I believe it was, a couple of years ago. And it signaled to me, because this horse was a handful, absolutely crazy. He had to wear the hood, which most of his do, but this one was certifiable and was ranked all the way around the track. I can't remember the name, but this was a horse who went off at like 4-5 as a favorite. And I had seen in the comments and on the racing forum, and some of the people had said, this one's a handful. We don't really know what we've got here, and didn't run very well. And that kind of told me he thinks he can win with anything over here. No, it wasn't Silver Knot. I was against Silver Knot all the way. I bet against that horse all day long, made plenty of money. Measured Time was the one I really liked. And then Far Bridge beat them both in the Sword Dancer. That was a really big surprise. Hi, Laura. Good to see you. Late for class. Yeah, it is kind of a classroom, isn't it? I have not, just for your edification, guys, Matthew yesterday committed to me that he would be here. I have not heard from him. I will assume there's a very good reason for it. And I apologize. And I'm sure it's an oversight on his part it may have something to do with Mary Rampolini today from Daily Racing Forum passing away. There may be some extenuating circumstances. I don't know. I'm sure Matthew will get in touch with me, and hopefully he'll be on before we're done tonight. So, again, my apologies, but I was expecting him. William Buick's been around here long enough, Debbie, that he knows how to ride in the U.S. It's a tremendous advantage for these guys. A lot of times you'll see riders come over from Europe and they run the traditional European way, which is if you watch a race over there, a lot of times they're very, very tightly bunched together. And it's called being covered up. And they'll put a horse on the rail to save the most amount of ground. Because what happens is when they get to the final turn, they all fan out, you may notice. And it becomes a sprint for 3 furlongs. And the U.S., we don't do that, and so consequently, a lot of times with the inexperienced European riders, they get jammed up inside. I know Jamie Spencer had problems with Powers Court, who was a great horse, who ran over here because he didn't quite understand about the thing about being covered up and how it's a detriment over here. It can be. I think William Buick knows how to ride here just fine. I think Abishiri stumbled out of the gate, and that was it. The thing they don't like is the fact that he raced her to the front, and I think he was smart in one regard, is he recognized how the turf was playing, and he knew if he didn't get up there, he'd have no chance at all. However, if it's a really good horse, you should be able to adapt. And if she was that good, it shouldn't have mattered that much. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's a very good rider. That ruined the race. Well, not if you back Phileas Fogg, but that ruined the complexion of the race, because the thought was, if you get Forge Steel committed to the lead, Phileas Fogg could still get the lead, but he'd have somebody pressing him. And my thought was Phileas Fogg maybe has lost a little bit. And because his last race he won from the wire, but he was the fractions were a little slow. I said, maybe he needs it slow now. Well, he wouldn't get it if Forge Steel ran his race. And Forge Steel just conceded the lead, and that was it. And it just, those are the kind of races that break your heart because and I mean, Antiquarian stumbling certainly didn't help matters. And I thought he ran a credible fourth. I mean, given the fact that his race was over at the gate, but yeah, and Ford Steele's a fraud anyway. I don't think that horse is any good. That Hollywood Gold Cup was just a piss poor race, not even close to a Greatest Stakes. Which one was that, Sean? I can't remember. The only South American horse I will ever remember, will never forget, is from South America, was Invasor. He was one of my favorite horses of all time. Won the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2006. He's the only one obstacle, yeah. You just don't know about the class. That's really the issue. And I'll tell you, even Invasor, he ran fourth in his first start in the States. Yeah, I know. Horacio De Paz, a great trainer, but the horse does the running. We got to, Now, I think with a couple of starts, maybe Obstacle will be better, but it's so hard to tell with the first start. Very few of them do really well from South America. Like I say, Invasor finished fourth his first start in the U.S., and then he never lost again. And he had some great races. I think it was the Woodward. I think I told you guys about it. I mean, he got hard checked on the backstretch, sent to the very back, and he re-rallied and still got up and won. Just a great horse. But yeah, South American ones, got to wait and see on them for the most part. Laura, what have you been up to? You still reading? Oh, I got a little story for you guys. I didn't like him. Just thought if he was up front with Forged Steel and Phileas Fogg, it would have set up for best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. The track was against runners coming from off the pace. And it was almost one of those situations like the Preakness. And if you guys watch my my posts on the Iowa Derby, when it comes to the hell we did, now that's a horse. If you look at his running lines for the Preakness, you might think, oh, well, he stepped up in class. He just wasn't good enough. I don't think so. That track was so against late runners that I don't think he had any chance. Incredible had no chance to win that race. Oselli was the only one who made a little bit of a move. But you'll note he finished fifth. So I look at the hell we did, and I thought his running lines really didn't tell the tale. Because if you watch that race, he did just fine. And he actually had a little bit in the tank late, but the track was against him. I think he's going to do a lot better in the Iowa Derby. You bet I am reading. Okay, well, I have a little story for you guys. Speaking of reading, I've got a couple of books I just ordered. One of them is about Gallant Fox in Omaha, the two only father-son Triple Crown winners, and from Jennifer Kelly, who autographed it for me. And I may talk to her about offering it on our store, but that's the first one. But the second one was A Life's Calling, Tom Durkin's book that just came out. And who did I see at the bar at Saratoga but Tom Durkin? So I went up, and I had met him once before at the Hall of Fame. He gives guided tours, private tours. And he's a really nice guy, as you might expect. And I went up and I said, Tom, I just started reading your book and I enjoyed it. And he was like, oh, great. And one of the things you learn about Tom Durkin in the book is he was an actor, and as I was. And he calls himself a frustrated actor. And I said, so one frustrated actor to another. I wanted to tell you how much I enjoyed it. He's very nice. as you might expect. And he's been in 3 plays since he retired. He told me he's played a drunken priest each time, Sean. So I said, you must be doing a lot of Eugene O'Neill. But anyway, really nice guy. And if I see him again at the spot, maybe I'll ask him to come on. If he wouldn't mind doing it. But very, very approachable. He sat at the bar. Nice guy. So you're reading and rereading, Laura. What are you reading? Tell me what you're reading. Have you got through Picking Winners yet? Yeah. Nina, I haven't seen you. Oh, wait a minute. No, I know you. Yes, Nina. Don't you normally have a different handle though, right? Weren't you like some kind of pest control or something like that at first? But good to see you. I know who you are, and good to see you. I hadn't seen you under that handle before. Good to see you, Nina. Oh, he fits the bill. He's lost a fair amount of weight since he stopped calling races. I think it's because of the no pressure anymore. Yeah, that's right. Irrigation. That's right. But he's lost some weight. Looks good. And again, he's a really nice guy. Just a guy with miles of stories. And I would have loved nothing more than to bend a few with him. But you don't want to intrude. But he's a really nice guy. Really, really quality guy. We miss him. What's it about? What do you mean, Laura? What's it about? Well, Tom Durkin's book is a biography. Got through and rereading it. It's too much to digest in one sitting. Believe me, you know what you should think of them, Laura, as like reference materials. I've done that. You go back and read them again, little passages you're wondering about something that you think you maybe have remembered, and then you don't. Did you forget? But main thing to do is don't get too heavy with it. Just take it and then just sort of let it flow. But if you get too intense, sometimes you can burn yourself out and you'll get really frustrated, because a lot of times the thing you have to learn that you'll get the more you do this is, obviously, even if you just read a chapter about 2-year-olds and you handicap a 2-year-old race, some of the things you learn may not apply. And so you have to, sometimes you preset your mind to think it has to apply to this race. Sometimes not. But you'll learn that's over time. You'll I don't want to, so just be careful with that, because I want you to, I don't want you to get crazy. It's easy to do. Let's see. Paul has got something for me. Your buddy John with Past the Wire has a book about Ruffian I'd like to get, but he has not told me how much. Now, John knows about money. John's a really good writer too. Some of his articles on Past the Wire, he's a very good writer. I read a book about Ruffian a while ago, and I cannot remember who wrote it. It might have been Bill Knack. I'm not sure. But that was one of those that, Secretariat, they knew they had something, but it took a little time to get it. Ruffian, they had it right away. The first work Ruffian ever did when she got to the track for Frank Whiteley, I think Jacinto Vasquez was the jockey, and he said, just take her out and give her 3 easy furlongs, no more than 37, something like that. He clocks her at 34, and he's yelling at the jockey, what are you doing? And he goes, what do you mean, what am I doing? She was moving easy. I didn't even ask her. That's how good she was. Not even being asked, and she ran 34. Pretty special horse. May have been the best. We talked about the what if a little while ago. She probably could have been the greatest filly of all time if she'd stayed healthy. It's a shame. You don't see them like that too often. Let's see. Impromptu performance. Yeah. Check out Handicapping 2-Year-Old Thoroughbreds by 2-year-old Edgman. Started reading it last night with my flashlight. Okay. I'm not aware of that book. 2-year-olds. Oh, wait, you know what? Maybe I did read that. I might have. Was that from the DRF Press, Sean? Because if it is, I probably did read it. DRF, Daily Racing Form had a library of books they put out. Exotic Betting, Steve Christ, Handicapping 101, Brad Free, Pedigree Analysis by Lauren Stick, who she'd be nice to get on. I used to have rapport with her from when she was at the Daily Racing Forum, and she'd be interesting to have on. I wonder if I could find her. I think I still have her email, but you never go wrong reading anything. To be honest, you're going to get something. There's a little book. You won't believe this. There's a book called Handicapping the Wall Street Way. And it's not about handicapping horses. It's about how you bet and about finding value and only betting value and particular types of value at particular types of tracks. And I tried it for a little while. I got away from it because I don't like systematic stuff. But it's an interesting way to think about it. And it may broaden your horizons as far as what horses you look at. Just a quick look. Prairie Meadows looks very. Yeah, I think Prairie Meadows. I think the Iowa Derby, the Cornhusker. I think is. I put 3 posts out tonight. The Iowa Derby, the Indiana Derby, and the Cornhusker Handicap. Of those 3, now the question is, Desert Gate is cross-entered in both the Iowa and Indiana Derby. I think my instinct is he's going to run in the Iowa Derby because in the Indiana Derby, there's a fair amount of speed signed on. So obviously, wherever he goes will impact things greatly. I have not picked him to win and will not in either race. I don't like the horse, and I don't think he's any good. I think he's a chalk burner. But it should be the Iowa Derby in particular looks very interesting. Two-year-old material. Okay. Father Sean coming through in the clutch. Oh, yes. I don't know if there's a book out about Landalusi. There should be. If you've ever seen Lafitte Pincay's documentary, All About Winning, which I think you can watch on YouTube, by the way. Kevin Costner narrates. Very, very good documentary. And you get to see the highlights of Landalusi. A little bit before my time, but unbelievable. She was winning races by 20 lengths as a 2-year-old. And just accelerating, like putting that much on him in nothing flat. Dwayne Lucas is a fascinating person. There's no, you can't reinvent an industry, which he kind of did, unless you're pretty awesome. Okay. It might not be, but they did have a book, like it was called Betting 2-Year-Olds or Handicapping 2-Year-Olds, and I think Lauren Stick wrote it. It was more about pedigree because that's pretty much all you have for 2-year-olds. Let's see. Yeah, those 2-year-old books tend to be that way, Sean. I bet you it's the same one. It may not be. I got a feeling it's the same book I read long time ago. I know where, man. Yes, he is. Yes, he is, and he has a book. I believe it was him. How he got started in horse racing and how he was a kid. His mom's boyfriend was like took him to the track, and he talks about being on the subway um, thing about handicaps, you guys all know, is that he was this very genial, very pleasant, cheerful guy until he got his head into the racing form. He's like on the subway, he couldn't even talk to him because he was knee deep in it. But yeah, he's a very good writer. Um, Bill Nack, if you want to get, the book on Secretariat is kind of like the horse biography Bible. Um, there's a very good book about, these are non-handicapping books, but there's a great book about Man of War, who should not be forgotten when you're talking about the greatest horses of all time. And I read another one about Monarchos. Really interesting how they got Monarchos into the Derby and how it happened. It's kind of cool. Like John T. Ward was his trainer. It's an old hard boot Kentucky guy, and explaining how they go about the process. Pretty cool. And in comparison, like comparing how the old hard boot guy does it as opposed to Bob Baffert. And there were some subtle little digs at Bob Baffert for different things, but so. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's probably not the same one then. I'm currently reading the chapter that talks about PP patterns. It is very interesting. I'm trying to fully understand and find examples. Please, Alex, watch the Sunday's 5th race from Saratoga. Languid. That's the horse? This last Sunday you're talking about? Okay, I'll replay it. If you guys want to watch it, we got time. I guess Matthew's not going to make it. So, um, what in particular about it, Laura, is interesting to you? And just so I know before I play it. Patterns are everything. If you can start to understand, this is about trainer intent too. Don't forget. If you can start to understand patterns like third off the layoff, form cycles, it'll be immeasurably valuable to you. It's such a huge part of handicapping. It's not something you're going to be able to develop necessarily right away, but yeah, patterns should always be looking for patterns when you handicap races, and that's what I mean about when we say start from the bottom up. That's how you find those patterns. Finish second, but I think the next time out could be. I want to understand language race. Okay. So it was Sunday's race at Saratoga, the 5th race. Is that what you're saying, Laura? Let me find it. Matter of fact, I got Twin Spires right here. I always use it when I'm doing videos for you guys. Let's see. So we'll go Sunday, Saratoga. Okay, 5th race. Languid. Okay. So that was the race where Capricious Outcome was the winner. Is that right? Points out a maiden. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's watch it. All right. So we're gonna pull it up. Can you guys see that? Oh, let me add it. Okay, hang on. Okay. I'm gonna put it up right now. Okay. Yeah, let me get this right. This thing's fickle sometimes. Okay. Here we go.
They're in the gate. And they're off. Slight bobble by Language shortly after the start and is now at the back of the field. There's a real scramble in the early going. Capricious Outcome is racing on the far outside, and Harrier is showing good speed, cutting the corner along the rail, but it's Inherent Promise who's quicker than both into that clubhouse turn. Then Dixie Hex in fourth. No Filter is fifth at this point, 4 lengths off the lead, a gap of 8 lengths to the trailer's Dinah D Crown Moment. And Languid, after that awkward beginning, is the trailer. Inherent Promise went through an opening quarter in 22 3/5 seconds, moving right along with a 3.5 length lead. Flavian Pratt and Capricious Outcome in second, followed by Harrier at the rail in third. No Filter has to pick it up 6 lengths off the loose leader, racing 2 clear of Dixie Hex. Then comes Dinah D, racing 4 lengths in front of Crown Moment and Languid. Dinah D trying to make some headway on the outside. 46-2. Inherent Promise saying, catch me if you can. Capricious Outcome trying to cut into the margin, doing so now. 4 lengths back to Harrier in third. Then comes No Filter in fourth. Dinah D moves by that pair, takes third, and continues to make headway as Capricious Outcome takes the lead with a quarter of a mile to go. Turns for home, putting away Inherent Promise, opening up 2 lengths. They're followed by Dinah D in third, and down the center, Crowned Moment is starting to roll. Extreme outside, Languid, after that terrible start, is kicking into high gear. He is coming fast at Capricious Outcome. 3-length lead. Languid keeps on coming. Capricious Outcome or Languid, they come to the wire. Capricious Outcome holds on. Languid, a giant second. A long way back to Dinah D and Dixie Hex.
Pretty good. Pretty good. What I would say, okay, Nina, I'm gonna. Here's what I saw from watching that race. Now, matter of fact, I have the past performances from yesterday, so let me pull those up too, and that way we can take a look at it, because I didn't handicap that race. I did not follow it. Here we go. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to share the screen again. Okay. So you guys can see that, right? Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Now, we'll look at. So this was a mile and a 16th, and it was a maiden claimer for 55,000, 3-year-olds and up. So we know that. So it was a maiden. So now we'll take a look at Languid. Okay. So the first thing that I look at when I see languid is this horse cost 60,000 at the Keeneland November sale, which is not one of the premium ones. The premium sales are the Fasig-Tipton in August, the Keeneland sale in September. Those are the big ones, or the Ocala Breeders' sale, and I forget what month it is. So when they don't sell at one of those meets. Now you're thinking maybe the reserve wasn't mad or something like that. So they're going to a lesser sale. So that's the first thing. So I know he was sold for 60,000. And remember what we talked about? That's his value because he was bought for 60,000. You see the stud fee was 25, which is okay. So he was a little bit above that. So the breeder made a little bit of money on him. And it's Army Mule, Freeze and Fire, which is a good precocious line. And you see, first time turf, 13%. So that's pretty good. And you got Tisnow underneath. And you got Johnny V aboard for Dick Dutrow. And you see Dick Dutrow is 2 for 2. So automatically, when I see those two things, Johnny V on a young horse and Richard Dutrow as the trainer who's 2 for 2, I'm paying attention. So then I look at the angles and I see maiden to maiden claimer, he's at 29%. So that's really good. So that's a very positive angle for Dick Dutrow. But dirt to turf, he's not that. He's okay. He's 11%. Now, if I had the DRF formulator, what I would want to do is combine those two to get the actual percentage. Dirt to turf and maiden to maiden claiming at Saratoga, turf at 1 1/16. You get the idea for 3-year-olds. And I want to see what his percentage is. I bet it's pretty good. But anyway, so now I know all that. So I know going into this, I know there's some real positives about this horse. And he's 0 for 4, which bothers me a little bit. I don't like, when you get 0 for 5, 0 for 6, then I kind of start losing interest. But so I see that. So now I've got some things to be kind of interested about. So now I look at the work tab and I see this horse has been working pretty steadily. February 3rd, 13th, 22nd. And then I see they took a little break with him for a month. Maybe something happened, might have been an issue. They bring him back. He goes March 25th, April 2nd, April 8th, April 14th, nice and steady. So he's had 1, 2, 3, 4 uninterrupted works going into his first start. Oh, I know. I take that back. He ran on March 5th for 20,000. Now that's a really bad sign because he sold for 60,000. So they've already prepared to take a bath on this horse. Right? They bought him for 60. They're selling him for 20,000, and he hasn't even run yet. That's not a good sign. But you do see it was a key race because Manhattan Charm won his next start. And you see the note, 6 path on the turn, improved position. So there's some promise there. It was on a sloppy track. So and we know Freeze and Fire is usually pretty good there. So they give him some time off. And then now we go back to the work tab and we see March 25th, April 2nd, April 8th, April 4th, 5 works into his next start. And what happened? They moved him to turf and they stretched him out to a route and they upped him in class to 55,000. So those are all kind of positive. And so you look at this and you say to yourself, well, maybe they just wanted to try him out on dirt and they figured nobody would claim him at 20,000 because he sold for 60. So we can get away with it. You see, the race was a 107 race rating. And now coming off the bench, he's running in a 108. So a little bit better. And he runs about the same class rating, a 109. And he finishes third. And it's a decent enough third. You look at the pace fractions. Now, they ran a very different way this time on turf. You see at the 6 furlong race, 76, 71, 90. So he didn't do a lot of running early. That's okay for a maiden because he was just getting himself together. But you see, in the turf race, they made him more forwardly placed. That's a good sign. And the 70 late pace fraction wouldn't bother me too much because it's his first race after a little bit of a layoff. Maybe needs it. Could be one of those types. But he ran third, tracked in second, mild kick. So there's a little bit of promise there. And look what they did. They must have really liked it because now they moved him up to a maiden 75,000. And he finishes third again. But you see the speed figure decreased, and you also see it was the same race rating, 108, as the maiden 55. So it wasn't a better race per se. And this time he ran a 108, and look what they did. They changed tactics again. 65, 58, 84. So they did essentially no running on the front end, and he kind of went around the track. And Johnny V was aboard for that race too. And we see he's had blinkers for every start, so we don't think anything of that. Chips and Fish, I know because he was a huge price in a 3-year-old turf stakes that one of the horses that a few of the New York horses competed in. I can't remember. Wish you could be more specific. But anyway, you see Langwood finished third in that race. 3-Path Far came 4 wide, got third, but it's not like I look at those running lines and nothing's really exciting me because the race wasn't necessarily better than the 55,000. But you see, once again, now they moved him into maiden company and back onto dirt. So when I look at this horse, I go, they really can't figure out what to do with him yet. And they put him on dirt at a 1-turn mile at Aqueduct in a maiden special weight, and he really kind of shits the bed. It's a much harder race rating of 111, and the class rating was 106. So he did not run well at all, and you could see that. Drop back 7/16 inside 3-Path. So he was overmatched. So what I would say from this race is, going into this race, I know maiden to maiden claiming. I mean, they're still trying to find out what this horse is worth. Is what they're doing. They put him in the maiden race, and but it was on dirt, so they may be just trying to sharpen his form up. And you see, he was a little quicker on the front end than he had been. And his running lines look like maybe he had a little bit of trouble around the second fraction. So now he's moving back to turf. Now, I know this horse has run on turf before. And I also know he's run from with slow fractions off the pace. And he's also run kind of up near the pace. So he has a little bit of versatility. So going into this race, I know dirt to turf isn't the greatest angle for Dick Dutrow. So this would be a hard read. I probably wouldn't be a horse I would bet in that race. And because it's too hard to tell if that makes any sense, what I see. Now, I'll tell you something else that I noticed when I looked at that race replay in comparison to these past performances. The numbers didn't, the form doesn't tell the story about this horse. You know what did? The race replay. And I'll tell you what it was. Now, obviously, he blew the brake. So he really never had any chance in that race, particularly when you consider the turf is playing extremely speed favoring. And you know how you know that as well? You watch that race replay. Do you see all the dust kicking up from behind the horses? That's an extremely dry turf course. And that's when it becomes like a dirt course. They call it derf when it gets that dry. And it starts playing like dirt. So early speed is everything. Now, watching that race, when you see a horse blow the brake like that, Now, I watched as he was running along, and when he got to about the top of the stretch, the light bulb went on. You could see it in his running. And did you see that quick? Like all of a sudden, you could see visually. He was like, "Oh, I get it," and he started running. A lot of times, that's when it happens. And so he closed like a freight train, and it's very much to the horse's credit that he was able to do so on a track that was so speed favoring. So that's a big plus. That would be something that would be kind of unexpected. Dick Dutrow is a great horseman, but when a horse blows the brake like that on a speed favoring track, that's usually it for the horse. So it's a big move forward. So now it's not your it wouldn't necessarily mean that he's going to bounce next time. Before you ask that, because I think he's just figured it out. He's got the classic running lines of a horse that's figuring it out, because he's running up there, he's running the back, he's running the front, dirt, turf. They're trying to figure out what to do with him. And that's a race like, oh, I guess we'll keep him with 2 turns on the turf. You know, that would have been he would not. Well, I couldn't get there with that horse, Debbie, to be very honest with you. It would have been a big leap of faith. But what I would say is there would be a couple of things that the fact that Dick Dutrow was so hot, he's 2 for 2, that would make me very interested. When his barn's going well, you want to pay attention. So that would get me interested. And the fact that Johnny V is back aboard, there would be some interest there. Not looking at having looked at the rest of the race, he would be a very tough call. Now, moving forward, after watching that replay and seeing at the top of the stretch again where he had that little moment like, oh, I get it. That would make me very interested next time. Now, if they drop him in class, I'd be very interested in a horse like that. If they move him back up to maiden, could go either way. Let's see. I thought the turf and the cutback in distance. Didn't expect the closing style. Would you bet him back? Possibly. Possibly. Like I said, the fact that watching that replay, seeing that the light bulb went off or on, I always say off, I don't know why, that would make me interested. I'd have to look at the past performances completely before I would say whether or not he was an interesting prospect, but I could see some things to like there. And if I couldn't find some really well-defined form or some really solid possibilities, he'd be a horse you'd want to think about. If the race, especially if it was extremely well-balanced. But, yeah, I mean, very impressive run. When you consider the way the track's playing, it was extremely impressive. And like I said, that whole light bulb going on thing, that's the thing that would make me very interested next time. Would I give him another shot? Sure. Sure, I would. I don't know. I don't know if he got claimed or not. Let me take a look here. I can't. I wouldn't be able to know. Okay, sure. Hey, listen, you obviously had some good instincts there because he ran a very good race. And who's to say if he hadn't broke well, he wouldn't have won the race. That's definitely something that I would pay attention to moving forward. He'd be definitely a horse I would pay attention to. I'd put on my stable notes as a horse I'd want to see again. But I'd also want to make sure, in comparison to everybody else he's running, that's a horse they may jump up in class again and get him out of the claiming ranks. Now, that may be a different story, and it all depends who he's running with. So that's the thing you want to be very careful about. If they drop him in class, yeah, I'd be all over him. I would. He definitely, I really saw that little when the light bulb goes off. When you see that and they go, hey, I get it. Now I know what I'm supposed to do. Then you definitely want it. You're on to something. I'm really surprised I haven't heard from Matthew. I'm awful sorry, guys, to let you down like that. I don't know what. It's not like him to be like this. So I hope everything's okay. Let's see. I will let you know. Okay. Yeah, Laura, keep us posted. And you know what? Put a post on our channel when he's running again. Can you do that? And let us know where. I bet you it'll be a couple weeks at Saratoga. And no problem, Laura. That's what this is all about. And we'll all watch the race. And hey, you know what? If I see it, I'll bet it. Okay, let's see. Remember, Mamba was coming on strong. Too bad it was not an extra. Yeah, I know, Robert. That was another one that hurt. I don't really know what happened there. I think, again, the track was just playing so speed favoring. I think really nobody had a chance unless you were up amongst the leaders. It just seemed like that turf dirt no matter what. Do I think Langwood needs blinkers? Well, the blinkers didn't have anything to do with him missing the break. You got to remember that, first of all. The fact that the light bulb went on, maybe he doesn't. Would it hurt to put blinkers on him? Probably not. Dick Dutrow, I'm not going to question him. He's a great horseman. Think what you want about him. Guy knows what he's doing. And he's sneaky. Like he's a line in the weeds kind of guy. You know, back in the day, Prado Dutrow all day long on claimers, from Michael Dubb. You know, that was like automatic. But he can be very sneaky, and you got to watch him. He's hard to read. He has, yeah, that's right. Langwood's been running with blinkers. Looked fine to me. Some trainers put blinkers on horses right away by process. The old school way would be you never put blinkers on a horse unless it was a last resort and you couldn't figure out what to do. Secretariat wore blinkers. Go figure. Don't like the name. Yeah, it is. It's a shitty name. I don't like it either, Laura. He's versatile, so I think he can fit into a pace. If the race fits, I'd bet him. I think that's exactly right, Jamie. I think, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you something else. Yeah, he is. And let me tell you, that Suburban Handicap, I was right at the finish line. And I wanted to talk to Matthew about it because he walked back to the paddock. Bill Mott walked by with Junior Alvarado. I didn't want to be anywhere near him. And I'd heard that about him. When his barn's not going well, you don't want to be anywhere near him. Oh, my God. He looked like he wanted to kill Junior Alvarado. And I didn't think he ran that bad a race. I just don't think he was good enough. But, yeah, his barn is ice cold right now. He's not doing well. But that can change in a heartbeat. He's too good. It doesn't last long, but yeah, he's not doing well right now. Antiquarian, I never liked, and I was not surprised, but he did stumble at the break. Yeah, he's had gait issues before. If we remember back to the Louisiana Derby, Antiquarian is one of those horses that you always expect better from him. I agree with you, Robert. He's not. I'm not a big fan of his. He's one that sort of always disappoints because you always expect a little better from him, and but that didn't help. And the way the track was playing, didn't help him either. Let's see. If you think about it, Matthew had a 3-part video on handicapping 2-year-olds. Cannot find part 2 and 3. Maybe he can drop a link to them. Paula, if he shows up, I hope everything's okay. It's very much not like Matthew to not get back. He was, when I asked him on Saturday, I said, "Can you be on my show?" He's like, "Sure, no problem." Something with work came up last night. He's like, "How about tomorrow night? Any night of the week? No problem at all." So I hope everything's okay. I really do, because what is the deal with sovereignty? Okay. Nina, did you watch last week's Q&A with Tim Hughes? He gave a great explanation about sovereignty and what actually happened in the Stephen Foster. It really had to do with the track. Yes, sovereignty had a couple wins over Churchill, but not that type of track in the Foster. And so I tell you, I was talking with Kaylee Shapiro and her father. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait to bet sovereignty back. Think about the price we're going to get." He's going to. I haven't given up on him at all. Let's see. What horse are you most excited to see the second half of the season? Burnham Square. I love that horse. I loved them last year. The 3-year-olds. The Haskell will be very interesting. Yeah, Kaylee does love sovereignty. I've still told her right to her face, so you're the queen of the sovereignty cult. Yeah, she does. Kaylee's a trip. I love Kaylee. She's the best. Yeah, Burnham Square. I want to see what he can do, against the really big time. As far as the 3-year-olds go, let's see if Further Ado can keep building. I'm checking here to see if I'm. Yeah, I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you. Yeah, yes, she does, Nina. She knows an awful. She's very connected. She has her own horses, so she's really into the sales. Like, she can give you great insight. When we get her on, that's going to be something she's really going to tip us off about. It's about sales, pedigrees, visual handicapping. She's great at, and she's like so excited to do it. She was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, love to do it." So, be looking forward to that. Alex, I read or heard that pedigree can dictate if a horse is a good bet in its first race. Is that so? Sometimes. Sometimes. What's better is to throw them out because of their pedigree. For instance, AP Indy at Saratoga, the maidens never win. Never did. There aren't any anymore, but yeah, I want to see Englishman too, Sean. I've become to this Englishman, I've become a believer for sure. Well, the thing with pedigrees is, Laura, there's certain sires that are always going to be really bankable. The Coma is a great first time starter sire. Early voting has been very good with first time starters. Um, what I look for is with pedigree, when you see a good first time starter sire and then the dam has had a bunch of 2-year-old winners. I had a horse, I think I told you guys about a couple of years ago, named Blackened. And he went off at, I think, 9-1. And I'm telling you, why did I bet him? Anything you saw about the horse was okay, but it didn't stand out except for one thing. He had a good first time starter sire, and his dam had like 5 starters, five foals, all won first time out. It's like the greatest stat I've ever seen for a mare. Bet him with both hands, and he won handily. That's the kind of thing. It's always in the dam. The sires are big, but a lot of people overlook the dam. And that's why I like Brisnet, because you get dam information about how many their foals won at 2, how many winners they have, how many stakes winners. Pedigree is important for first-time starters. It can be. You're absolutely correct. But it can also be a reason not to bet them. And it's like Always Dreaming is a terrible first-time starter sire. Trying to think of another one. That's just as important as if they're a first. And then if the trainer, like Ian Wells, is not good with first-time starters, they never do well. He has like a 3% first-time starter. But, if you look at like Ian Wells and the tab looks really snappy, he's probably got something there. It's everything, but pedigree's the starting point with first-time starters. Yes, you're correct. But again, the overall, that's the main thing I want you to remember. Okay, let's see. I'm already looking forward to the Fall Derby preps. I'm hoping that this year will be a watershed year. In that we were talking about it on Saturday, because there were so many horses in the Derby yet this year who weren't ready for it, who needed a lot of foundation, and they didn't get it. Emerging Market, Chief Wallaby. So we were kind of thinking maybe this is the year where they say, you know what, we got to go back to racing these horses at 2, building foundation. 3 Derby preps, hoping they get back to that. Because that's when you're going to see champions in some great races. You're not going to see the Derby this year sucked. It just was a lousy race, I thought. Did you just say further ado? Yes, Laura. Hey. Listen. I've said this before about if I don't like them for the Derby, and if I say I don't like a horse, it doesn't mean I don't hate them. It just means, further ado, I could see the quality there. I just didn't think he could run well in the Derby, and he didn't. He ran okay. But growing, filling out, the Churchill Downs, I became a believer. I was like, yeah, he's definitely heading in the right direction. Now we'll see. Breeders' Cups at Keeneland, he could be extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. But I don't, when I say I don't like a horse, Desert Gate's a horse I don't care for because he doesn't have a lot of heart. He's not reliable. I like honest horses, but Further Ado has been pretty honest. I think he ran to the best of his capability, but now his capabilities level is probably better or higher. So Paladin, Ted Noffey, yeah. Well, you're gonna see Ted Noffey run 2 turns. I guarantee you that. Ain't gonna happen. Robert says, "Hey, Alex, I think crude velocity is going to really have to prove it to me at the Haskell. I think he will be up against it." I am absolutely in agreement with you, Robert. He's a toss. He's a toss. I now this like you can almost take away what Baffert's horses have done on the track because he waits till the Pat Day Mile to say this is my best 3-year-old. Come on. And I don't think he's a two-turn horse anyway. I think he's just grasping at straws. He's trying to stay current. Look at what he did with Desert Gate. He's got Desert Gate cross-entered in the Iowa and the Indiana Derby. He's just trying to find a win for this horse, for the stud value. Just like, hey, he won a graded stakes at 3. That's all he's trying to do right now. I was talking with Marty Shapiro about it. He's like, that's what they do with these horses, when they have stamina on top and speed on the bottom. They just try to get as much out of them as they can because they're probably not going to be classic distance horses. Chief Wallaby, Commandment. I had questions about both of them. Even the Chief. And I picked the Chief to win, but I had questions about him in a 1.25 miles. The Puma, I still have questions about him at 1.25 miles. Hey, Joe, listen, good for you. Like I said, you have an opinion, you go with it. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right, now let's see. Now here's something interesting. Suggestions keeping track of pedigree, sires, and dams. Keep a book. You don't have to, Laura. Brisnet, all that information's right there. It'll tell you what their first-time starter percentage is, first time on turf, mud, 2-year-old record. It would be a lot of work to keep book on sires. Now, a great resource is the Blood Horse, because the Blood Horse lists stallion information. It'll tell you who the first crop sire, the best first crop sires are, best second crop, third crop, turf, all that stuff. That's your resource. And then, of course, Pedigree Query. I showed you guys before. If you just want to look up the sire and what his offspring are doing, and if you hit progeny and you get a list, it'll show you what their earnings have been and what their win-loss is. But Brisnet's really good about giving you those sire percentages that you want to see. So I hope keeping a book, I think you drive yourself crazy. Trent, that's a lot of information. After a while, you get a feel for it. You'll just see certain sires and you'll just know, Into Mischief, Gunrunner, Constitution. They're all pretty good first time out. The Coma is like gold first time out because he has that nice, greasy, precocious speed that he passes on. Those are, early voting looks like he's turning into one of those sires. Flightline could be, but his may need a little bit. I don't know. Haven't found out for sure yet. So, but keeping a book, no. I don't think you have to do that. Most of the stuff I tell you, Laura, you guys all got to remember this. Is a lot of it is second nature to you already because you've been doing this a long time. If you're just starting out, you've only been doing it a couple of years, a lot of it's going to be Greek. It's not going to hit you right away. But what will happen is after a race, maybe it will. And then you'll file it away and then you'll know. And again, making mistakes, you're going to make them. I mean, I made plenty when I started. I still make mistakes, but that's how you're going to get better. And listen, if you don't have a strong opinion about a race, don't bet it, but watch it and see what happened. And maybe if your hunch was right, well, hey, you're onto something. And if you were completely wrong, maybe I better go back and take a look. That's all I'd say. Let's see. Greasy Speed, yeah. Alex, I've tried to buy your picks 2 weekends in a row, and your website doesn't let me check out. And I've emailed you numerous times. Jimmy, I haven't seen them, and I apologize. And I'm sorry for the problem. I'll tell you what. Here's what I want you to do. Send me an email to writeatthewire@gmail.com. I'm going to give you this weekend for free, okay? As a way to make up for it. I'm also going to ask my guys what the problem is. I only had Saratoga picks for this last Saturday was the first one. So it's actually probably a good thing that you didn't get them the week before because there were no picks. It'll be every Saturday for Saratoga. I'm going to give you this Saturday for free. As soon as it's ready, I will email it to you directly. But from then, I'll talk to my guys. I wasn't aware that I didn't get any orders this weekend, and maybe now it's because there was a problem. So I apologize, but I'll make it up to you, okay? Send me an email to. I'll put it in the comments. Okay, that's my email. Just send it, Jimmy. Just send that to me, okay? And I'll take care of you. Robert, his mother died at the end of last year. She was having a tough time. Yeah, not the end of she died like about like 2 months ago. So I'm sure there's some other reason. I'm sure there is. I just Matthew's too solid a guy. But yeah, his mom passed away, and I've been there. It's tough. My best friend just lost his mother over the weekend. 95 years old, sharp as a tack, all the way to the end, got pneumonia, and it's tough. Yeah, I mean, believe me, Matthew's been consoled plenty from all of us who know him. And he's just a great guy. He's everything you see on camera, he's exactly that way in person. It's like he's just the greatest guy. He's been such a boon to horse racing. I got to talk to my website guy. I wasn't aware we were having problems there. I apologize. I'm sorry if any of you else have had problems. Please let me know. I'll take care of it for you. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't get back to me at all, and that's highly unusual, highly unusual. So I'm a little worried. I hope he's okay. Well, the other thing is, guys, that you got to remember is that Monday is a dark day at Saratoga, and he works all weekend. When I saw him on Saturday, he's like, Kaylee and I have been in the office like all day working. And they had something for work come up last night. So it could be anything. I hope everything's all right. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Nina. Matthew is, I was talking with him, he's got a great background. His father is a lawyer, Blaine DeSantis, and he leads the league in blocked people on X. And he's a real character. He's very charismatic. And he used to be a wrestling promoter. And I started talking to Matthew a little bit about that, and he's like, I use that when hi Tyler, how are you? Um, he'd like to get people up to level 10. He's like, when you got an 8 o'clock class in the morning, it's hard to get people on a Monday. It's hard to get people excited. So, and he's a character. He did musicals in high school. I'm an actor. I used to do musicals, and so I think you and I got a duet sometime. And so, yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy. Let's see. Oh, okay, Jamie. Let's see. Had to step away, but on Pedigree, I built. Tell you what, Jamie, you want to come on and talk about your app? That's what I wanted to do. Since we can't get Matthew, do you want to come on and talk about your app? Would you like to? Do you want me to send you the link? Jamie, just let me know and I'll send you the link. Okay. All right. Tell you what, couple weeks though, okay? Come on, I'll let you. Jamie, if you guys don't know, Jamie is on X quite a bit, and he makes selections and does a good job. And he's got an app he's come out with that he asked me to preview for him and take a look. I really like it, and it's for those of you who are fairly new to handicapping, you might find it useful. I really like the fact that you can view it landscape wise. Um, and which makes it a lot easier at the track when you want to look and make your bets, But he's got a lot of quality information there, and he's obviously put a lot of time into it. So it's on, he's J-Worm just like he is here on YouTube. And can they get the app on YouTube right now or on X, Jamie? What do they have to do to get it? Going to talk about that in a second, Tyler. Let me just make sure I get Jamie straight here. Okay, we'll wait to see what he comes up with there. Tyler says, can't lie, guys, not to bring up a sore subject, but that spill in the Philly race involving Dave Portnoy's horse sort of ruined the weekend for me. That was the worst spill I've ever seen. You know what? It was me too, but all the horses are fine. And on X, Dave Portnoy has been really cool about showing pictures of what was it, Just Gray or Just Go Gray, whatever the name of the horse, but totally fine. All the horses were fine. The only one who got dinged up a little bit was, I believe, Javier Castellano. The jockeys are fine. I couldn't believe it because literally the horse was banking so much, he slipped, and it was nobody's. I'm not going to give that. I'm not going to say it was the jockey's fault. Literally, he slipped and he just took out all of them. But they're all fine. They're all fine. Like I said, couple years ago, I was at Saratoga when Maple Leaf Mel and New York Thunder went down. I saw them both, 2 different weekends. I never want to see that again. That New York Thunder in particular was really, really, really tough to watch. Those are tough. But luckily, it was for that everybody's okay. Yeah, that was yeah. Oh, she did. Okay, thanks, Nina. That's one of Matthew's favorite horses too. Yeah, that one was really tough, Nina. Oh, that was tough. Now I will say, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I did do a tribute to Maple Leaf Mel on my channel a ways back. And if you want to remember, I don't mean that as in self promotion or anything, but if you just want to go back and take a look and see Maple Leaf Mel, it's way back in the archives, but it is there. I did one for New York Thunder too. Oh, go for one. Oh my God. That was, oh my God, that go for wand. Oh, because it was so tough about that one is that horse just was balls out, giving her all, every single, I mean, was just so all out, and that was the worst part of it. It's like a horse who's doing the absolute best they can. And I think Pat Day rode her, if I'm not mistaken. And Pat Day, I saw him on a couple of horses who just ran so well, they had to be banned off. Like I saw a horse who finished second for Pat Day at 30-1, and they had to ban her off because she just ran so far above her head. But he could do that. He was really good. 8 Bells was, here's the thing with 8 Bells. That was the year after Hardspun. It's the same trainer, Larry Jones. And Larry Jones was a real stand-up guy. I think he doesn't train anymore because of 8 Bells. I hate to say it, because he got so much flack. The horse, it was a freak accident. The horse broke both ankles on the front. And PETA was all over him, and they're saying that Mario Pino, I think, was the jockey. It might have been Randy Romero, Sean. Might have been. And he did quit, Paula. He quit for like a year. And Larry Jones is an straight up guy. And one of the things about him I always liked, his horses were always honest. Larry Jones had a horse in the race, you knew you were going to get the best you could out of him. Hardspun, never let him down. 8 Bells ran. It was my long shot play for that Derby, and she ran a great second. Nobody suspected that. He wouldn't have run. There's no way he would have put that horse in the race if he thought there was anything to worry about. It was a freak accident, absolute freak accident. It was totally unfair on the jockey too. A lot of people were tough on him, like he was still whipping them. They don't know. So it was that was a tough one. That's the first and only time that I've ever seen a horse break down in the Derby that I can recall. And that was not fun. That was tough. Big horse too, big girl. That's why they ran her, because she's, Yeah, these things happen. I'll tell you something funny that it's not funny, but it's something that I still look for to this day. Not to be morbid, but I'll just tell you. Some horses, if you watch them run, they run like they're forward. Their body's really forward when they run. It's almost like a cartoon, like their back legs are up and they're doing all the running on the front legs. There was a horse for the Phipps stable, Pine Island, in 2006. And she was a really nice filly. And I had her in the distaff, and she was a closer. And she was one classic Shug McGahee, was just getting her act together, really coming together as a filly. And this is back when Shug was winning the distaff every year. He had Pleasant Home. But anyway, she had One of the things I noticed about her running was she ran very forwardly placed with her head like forward. So whenever I see a horse who runs like that, I get very nervous because she broke down in the Breeders' Cup. And if you watch it, it's not a surprise because she almost like she looked like she was going to fall every step she took. And so I watch for that. When I see horses that run like that, I get very nervous watching because it's like that's just they're very prone to breaking down. Yeah, they. I mean, um, that's right, Nina. I mean, I was just listening to Bill Maher was talking with Bo Derek today. You know, Bo Derek's big into horses. She was on the California Horse Racing Commission, and she's a big proponent of horse racing. And Bill Maher was talking about, they've eliminated the sport, and it's all because of PETA in some places. And she's like, no, that's not why. And he's talking about, I don't like what they do. Horses are treated, thoroughbred racehorses in many not are treated better than people. Same thing with dogs. Think how well we treat our dogs and how much we abuse ourselves. Kind of the same thing, I think. I don't loathe them, Nina. They do a lot. There's some things they do. The humane treatment, like a lot of this stuff with processed food. Something I didn't realize is that when you pack them together like as tightly as they do, that's where diseases come from, and that infects all of us. So they do some good stuff too. They're a little unrealistic, but they don't. I mean, when she says, "Oh, they're responsible for," or Bill Maher says they're responsible for things, no, they're not. They're not. I think these jockey suspensions are a bit much. I didn't know what he did because I didn't see it. I know this. Irad gets away with murder in New York, and we all know it. I've watched many an aggressive ride of his that they didn't even touch. Yeah, I saw that, Sean. That's an well, I'm going to take credit for you knowing the egg beater gate because I said that on X. There's for those of you guys like some things to watch on a horse. I can't keep this lit. One of the things in a running style, and incidentally, Seabiscuit had this. It's called an egg beater gait. And what it means is, like, if you can imagine these are two hoofs, one's going this way and the other goes like that as they run. So forward, run, it goes like that. And the horse Sean's talking about, there's this horse, Flightline horse in Japan, who just won a race pretty convincingly. But oh my God, looking at her stride, it was just, like that the whole way around. That's an egg beater gait. And that's one of the reasons why they were probably prone to getting rid of Seabiscuit quickly. Because when they have flaws in their stride, that's when they don't sell well at races or at sales. So a lot of times, you see these big time stud fees, and then you say a horse has a $200,000 stud fee and he sells for $100,000. That's why. They see him run, they see that bad conformation, a flaw. But as Laz Barrera said, the crooked ones run too. Bob Baffert, he told Bob Baffert that, I believe it was. Let's see. Oh, Tyler, let's see what she's. I booked a tour for Claiborne Farm when I'm over in Kentucky for the Breeders' Cup. Oh, you'll love it, Tyler. You'll love it. You want to talk about the quintessential horse farm? That's the one. What a beautiful place. Nice, very nice people, very friendly. I got to pet Prince of Monaco and Warfront. They'll let you get right up close and personal. Um, Generally, the tours are run when a lot of the stallions are out to pasture, so you're not going to see a lot of them uh, in their paddock in their stall. But the history, the cemetery alone is worth the trip. You won't believe the graves. Who's there? Buck Passer, of course, Secretariat, Swale, Johnstown, um, Bold Ruler. It goes on and on and on. It's amazing. Great. If you're gonna, that's the first one to see. Now, when I go back, which it will likely be in the fall, maybe not for the Breeders' Cup, I'm going to go see Hartsman over at Darley. But Coolmore I imagine, is a pretty cool one as well, or Three Chimneys or Lane's End. It's amazing. Got to go. You guys all need to go to Keeneland. If you haven't been, you have to go. Maybe. Maybe. Like let's see what Tyler says here. I have an interesting question for you. If you could build your own dream horse to run in the Triple Crown, what pedigree would you choose in terms of sire and dam? Well, I love Hardspun, and he's a good sire. That Danzig might have been better than Northern Dancer as far as the sire goes. Here's what I like to see for, if you're talking about a Triple Crown horse, what I like to see, and this is what they look for incidentally, I like to see miler type of speed on top, and then a really good broodmare sire underneath, like Bernardini, Blame. There was a sire at Claiborne Farm, Seeking the Gold. Stamina, stamina, stamina all day long. When I look at the crop, sometimes I'll say that to myself. Like, I use an example, like Scat Daddy. Now, I knew Scat Daddy, he couldn't win the Derby, but I knew he was going to be a good sire because he had dirt and turf pedigree from Johannesburg, but he had miler speed. So what they do is they want to see miler type speed where we can put stamina underneath. Bold Ruler, he had miler type speed. He was incredible. I mean, he could run 2 turns and he could run classic distances, but he had miler type of speed. They weren't even sure that his would get 1.25 miles at first. You can believe that. But that's the kind of speed. Yes, he did. That's right. Nowhere Man. What's your name again? Forgive me. I forgot. And I know you've been on before, and I can't. I got a cheat sheet here. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, so I've forgotten. But if you can tell me what your name is, I'd appreciate it. I don't like using handles when I know people. Stuart. All right. Are you a Scotsman, lad? Because you're talking to another one. That's the proper Scottish spelling, too, with a U, not a EW. Yeah, Puka's pretty amazing. He's a dam. That's New Yorker. Okay. Well, you can still be Scottish and from New York. Yes, Mr. Prospector. Oh, Seth Hancock loved that horse, and why wouldn't you? Mr. Prospector is a kind of a great example of what I'm talking about. He was more of a miler type of speed, but you could put stamina underneath, and they retain that greasy speed. Laura, you love that term, that greasy speed, but then they can take it longer when they add stamina. They always feel like they can add stamina. So it isn't. There's a horse who won the Belmont I've told you guys about, Drosselmeyer. I think it was in 2010. Now, when I was watching him, I go, he wouldn't be a kind of a stallion that I would be interested in, but I would love him as a broodmare sire because he could run all day and he could do it at a high class level. So you get your class and your stamina most times from the dam. Dam is way underrated. Everybody wants to talk about the stallion. The dam is really important. When you get those blue hen mares underneath, I mean, that's just class all the way. Candy Ride is a great sire too. Matter of fact, that is exactly it. If you want to talk about that's the kind of sire I like, Candy Ride right there. Because that horse has mile speed, set the world record for a mile on the turf. And it could go longer too. But you put stamina underneath with a Candy Ride and you get Gun Runner, right? Great sire. Munnings, yes, Sean, at Saratoga, as I've mentioned before, the track of sires, Speightstown, that Speightstown line, Munnings is now, Speightstown's gone now, so Munnings is kind of taken over. Munnings do very well at Saratoga. Munnings can throw a two-turn horse out on turf occasionally, but not on dirt. Money's Gold is an example, I believe, a little while ago. It's a good sire, though. What happened to that pedigree link? You want it again? I'll give it to you again. Copy. Here you go. That's where you go. And what Tyler was just talking about, you can hypomate there. You can have your hypothetical. I want, I want Candy Ride on top, and I want a Bernardini mare on the bottom. What's it look like? Or you have your favorite mare, Puka. You want Candy Ride and Puka. You want to see what it looks like. You can see it. Pedigree is one of those things that it's a rabbit hole you can get into that you may never crawl out of. There's so much to pedigree, that the biology of it. For those of you who want to learn more about it, Jessica Tugwell, used to see her on Trust the Prophets, and she's still around. So I think it's Hawkstone Bloodstock. She's got a blog. She knows her stuff, boy. She's consulted about buying horses. She's very good. Little technical, but she's very good. What brought me into horse racing? Well, it's a kind of a convoluted story, Robert. I'll tell you this. My family was involved in horse racing. My grandfather owned horses at the old Narragansett racetrack in Rhode Island. That's the first track I ever went to. East Providence, Rhode Island. It's gone now. Been gone for 40 years. But my father was, if you knew, my father was a very quiet man. He didn't share a lot of information, but he did know how to handicap. You watch the Breeders' Cup with him every year. That used to scare me, how many winners he could come up with. But he didn't play the ponies on a regular basis. It wasn't his thing. But whenever he'd go on a junket occasionally to Belmont, he'd always come back and be like, I won the Daily Double. I hit a few more. And so he never taught me anything. I learned everything through books. But the reason I did is because of my mother. My mother was a really dynamic person, the very opposite of my father. And she was the belle of the ball, life of the party, a lot of fun to be around. And she was into horse racing. She loved horses. period. And run Triple Crown season, she would get into a horse like Summer Squall. I remember she was all over him. And we used to watch the Breeders' Cup every year around Halloween, just Saturday afternoon, very casual. I watched the Triple Crown, but I didn't really know about handicapping, to be quite honest with you, until I was in the hospital about 25 years ago. I had an accident and I got hurt. And I need something to do. And I was in Atlanta where I lived for 10 years. And my mother came to visit me and she said, I brought you a book. I thought you might like it. It was Seabiscuit. And I couldn't put that book down. That's the best work in nonfiction I've ever read. I read that 4 times in the hospital. And once I get, and I said, I gotta get into this. I'd done a little bit of it, but I really wanted to get into it. Oh, you're in Atlanta, Tyler? What part? I lived all over. I lived in Decatur, Norcross, Roswell, Alpharetta. I lived in the Highlands, my favorite place, Virginia Highlands. But anyway, I got like a little over, call it 27, 28 years ago. That got me really into it. I said, I want to learn more about this. So I started reading books. And I read, I'm a romantic, so that was what got me into it, the romance of it. It just seemed like a really cool thing. And I'd always had a passing interest in it, but not a big one. But I'm very analytical, as you might know, and my mind is very attuned to details and things like that. And so once I got into handicapping, there was no getting out of it. It fits me. I love the mental challenge of it. And that's how I got into it. Like, we had Tim last week. Oh, you live in Alpharetta? Okay. I know it well. Old Route 400. And now you get guys like Tim. Tim learned at the track. He's a hard boot, like grew up in Kentucky, and he did it like a lot of Kentuckians do. They go to the track and they learn that way. I learned through books. And so my approach tends to be a little different than some of the other guys. And that's the reason, is I learned through books. I learned through the study of handicapping. And then when I learned about how Steve Christ got into it, was a very similar way to me. He was at Harvard. He'd never done it before and went to Wonderland Dog Track, which is about 45 minutes outside of Boston. And he started to realize he transferred what he was doing with the dogs into the horses, and it was the mental exercise, and he fell in love with it. And I did too. And I just, and hey, is there any other endeavor where billionaires and bums can actually have something in common for a day, and can sit there in the grandstand and you never know who you're going to meet. And there's just there's no other sport like it for flavor, and just eccentricities are always welcome. And I just love it. But that's how I get into it. I was interested in it, and I tend to learn by immersion, and I just stuck with it. And so hopefully that's good enough answer for you. Do I ever step away? I did for a little while. I wasn't as into it as I am now for maybe about 3 years. From like between the Triple Crowns, between American Pharaoh and Justified, that period, I still followed it, but I wasn't as dead into it as I am now. I could never let it go completely. I can't do it. It's just a cool thing. You're right, Tyler. Mind frame is there. I did not see him. That he was turned out. By the way, you're gonna see the breeding shed, and it's gonna surprise you. I think it may surprise you. Claiborne's, the drive down the Paris Pike is worth the trip to Keeneland. It's absolutely majestic. It's beautiful. And let me tell you, Louisville's only 80 miles away. So if you haven't been to Churchill Downs, go on over there and see the Kentucky Derby Museum. It's fun. And you get a tour of the Downs, and it's great. I love handicap. It's a meditation for me. My preference is a paper form. There you go. Sure. Let me tell you, back in the day, we used to just live for Thursday nights because that's when the past performances came out for Saturday. And it was a whole thing. I mean, going on the internet all day long. When are the past performances coming out? When are they coming out? You know, I kind of missed that a little bit. It's cool to get them on Monday now, but back in the day, yeah, we used to be all over that. Right. I thought about it. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I thought about it, and the thing I stumble with a little bit, it's hard for the uninitiated. See, that's the hardest thing about horse racing. Like, you can watch baseball and you can just get into the game itself. But horse racing, you know, as I'm sure you guys would agree, you got to invest a little more time to really get something out of it than most people are willing to do. And handicapping, let's be honest, there's a lot of people who just look at all those numbers and go, oh, I can't do that. I had a friend of mine from Harvard. You know, one of my very good friends I grew up with. And he said, what are you doing with yourself these days? And I said, well, you know, and I'm not working, I'm handicapping. He goes, handicapping? Because that's like, nobody can do that. He was astonished. He was like, oh my God, it's like genius level. I was like, well, let's not go crazy. But it is like, you know, if you think about it, it's like anything else. It's an art, right? And, you know, if you're a welder, like, you know, you learn to do pulse arc welding, then there's TIG welding, braze, and there's all kinds of other different kinds of welding before you become a master. And so handicapping is like that. It's just, you know, it's so much of it is just a matter of you're right. That's it, Joe. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's a great mental exercise. That's what I love about it more than anything else. I love the horses, you know, they're noble beasts. They teach us a lot about ourselves if we pay attention. But I love the mental exercise. That's what I enjoy. And let's face it, when you get to a certain age, like me, where I can't run and can't play rugby anymore, and which I used to, and I can't, you know, I can't play sports per se, and I don't have time for golf, and I don't want to do it because it's too much of an investment in your time. I can still compete, right? Don't we all get that nice feeling when we get a win at 10-1 and we beat everybody else in the pool? You know, and that, hey, when you hit a long shot, I don't care about the CAWs. They get their money. That's fine. But hey, everybody else who's not a CAW, I just beat you. I just beat all you guys. I had 30-1. You didn't. You've all had that feeling. I know you have. It's great. Nothing wrong with that. You know, but it's like anything else. It's like I talk about. You just have to, you will get to a point. And I know, like, Laura, you're going to do this. If you're not doing it already, I know this is going to happen, is you're going to get fixated on one thing because you read about it. And you're going to look for it in every single race. And it won't be there a lot. It's going to be there sometimes, but it won't be there every time. But you think it will be. And then you learn over time when to find it, when to see it. And it's going to happen. It's a very natural thing. Do not get frustrated. Do not get mad at yourself if you do it. Whenever I used to learn something new, every single race, I was trying to apply it. A lot of times it's not there. It's not the variable. You know, you got to remember that. Every race is different. That's what I mean. You take all these different things and put it all together, but they're not all the same. So you have to, but it'll happen once you get used to it, doing it over and over again. You'll get it. All right, what's Tyler saying? Hey, everyone, I'm off to bed. Have an early morning. Take care, everyone. See you all Sunday night. Thanks for the show. Oh, you're very welcome, Tyler. I'm sorry we didn't, Matthew. Again, I hope he's okay. But next week, I got a really good guest that I know is you guys are going to like. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you're going to like. That's what it is, Joe. That's what it is. Is there any better feeling than when you're watching a race and you know how you think it's going to go in your head and it goes exactly that way? Pretty good feeling. To this day, I still love it. Let's see. I'm the same, Alex. I've always liked puzzles and things that exercise my mind. Well, as a priest, I'm not surprised at that with all your academic achievement and insight and education. Handicapping and figuring out what a race might look like. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, man, there's a lot of things we can't make hide nor hair of in our life, but isn't it cool when we can take something that's challenge that would be over most people's heads, and we can do it. And we can do it. We took the time to learn how to do it, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, that sounds a little, elitist, but hey, I think that's a feather in all our caps that we can do it, but we could all, myself included, we could all take it to another level. There's many times I've watched a race and go, now it makes perfect sense to me, but it didn't. I missed it. I didn't think about it. This year's Derby is a great example. I'll be the first to admit that it was obvious. I should have seen it, that most of the horses, that the prominent ones, mile and a quarter wasn't their thing. Who was? Renegade, Golden Tempo. And I just thought the Chief would take a step forward. But, in retrospect, you look back on it, that was our big thing. We had questions about all of them, a lot of them around 2 turns. And I kicked myself because I could have seen that. I should have seen it. And I didn't. I won't be beat again by it. I can tell you that. One race, another, the next. That's right. It's very hard not to beat yourself up. That's true, Jamie. It is, but the older you get, I don't know, maybe I take things in stride now. I haven't had a moment where I kicked myself. I'll get mad at a bad ride. I'll get mad at a horse who disappoints. But as far as now, you take the Sanford Stakes as an example. Now, I really liked Pocket Listing for one reason. I thought Pocket Listing was going to blow out of the gate, go right to the front, and be gone. Who got that trip? Booked. Now, I liked Booked, but I wasn't certain Booked would be able to beat Pocket Listing. But once he did, the race was over. So I knew the race shape was correct. I just picked the wrong horse. So these things happen. The story behind Summer Squall? Funny little thing. His breeding, the reason they bred Summer Squall, as I recall, reading a book about pedigree, they tried to get the most secretariat they possibly could from both bloodlines to Summer Squall. If you look at it, Summer Squall, I think I read that about Monarchos in the Derby, because I think Summer Squall is in the pedigree somewhere. Beautiful Pleasure, I think, was Monarchos' mare, and that was a John Oxley mare. Oh, bless your heart, Laura. Listen, let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you a story. My friends think I'm nuts. I'll be foaming at the mouth, telling them about a race, or decline an invitation to stay home and watch the race. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll tell you, one of the first like real heartbreaks I had in horse racing was 2004 with Smarty Jones, because Smarty Jones won the Derby pretty easily, and then he won the Preakness very easily. And at that stage of the game, I was still a little inexperienced, and I was like, Smarty Jones, there's no way he's not going to win the Triple Crown. And I'm talking with my mother about it. I go, he's not going to do it. There's no way. I'm like, I don't get like this, by the way, ever about anything. And I was going like, he's like going crazy. He's going to win. My mother's just kind of baiting me like she would. Like, are you sure about that? Like, oh, I'm dead sure. So you think he's a dead cert then? Yeah, dead cert. That's an old horse racing term, by the way. Dead cert for a lock. And, I was going crazy about it. And then all of a sudden, Birdstone gets him at the wire. Hey, it happens. It's great to be. There's nothing wrong with being passionate about anything, within reason, of course. But hey, listen, it's great to be excited about something. I think it's wonderful to be passionate about something. And, as you go along and you learn more, your passion can stay there, but it's tempered a little bit by your wisdom and by your knowledge and your experience. But then you can have even more fun, because then you can start getting passionate about things that people can't see, which is a cool feeling too. And I mean, it's kind of cool when you've got a long shot and you're sort of keeping it all to yourself, and it happens. I've never done that from you guys, by the way. You get what I feel, but 3-year-olds were not all that great this year. But hey, win some. Yeah, Robert. I mean, well, the thing to always remember is we don't know that yet. We got to evaluate them at the end of the year, after they've run against older horses, and we'll see. Now, again, further ado, Paula, you had Birdstone, huh? A lot of people did. It was a good bet, realistically. I mean, in the mud, a grindstone, yeah. We don't know yet. Look at further ado. Looks like he's really going to be a hell of a good horse. Now, I thought he was a good horse, but I didn't think he had that next level in him. Looks like maybe he does. We'll see what happens if they've had time to fill out and grow. We don't know that yet. We got to wait and see how they do against older horses. That's the determinant. So, not ready to. It looks like a mediocre crop this year. But again, with a lack of foundation for so many of them, got to wait and see what happens when they get. That's what they're doing right now. They're building foundation to them on the farm. Then we'll see. My favorite days off are the ones where I'm just watching the race. Sure. I mean, hey, America's Day at the races. What's wrong with cracking a beer? You don't want to bet? Just watch the races. And you can, and you do some trip handicapping. Hey, I really like the way that 7 horse ran. What's his name? All right, I'm going to bet him back. I can make a mental note to bet him back. You can do that. Let's see. Father Show. That was my rough day. Yeah. Chappie. What a character, boy. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. After this guy is a car dealer. Chapman was his last name. They called him Chappie. He owned Smarty Jones. And he had emphysema. So he had the ventilator. And when he won the Derby, he said, "Whoo!" And I swear to God, I thought he was going to have a heart attack. I'm glad he didn't, but it was crazy. Yeah, Birdstone was a nice pick at 30-1, boy. It was a nice one. Now, Laura, you have to remember, if I've taught you guys nothing else, you bet with your pocketbook, not with your heart. You know, and hey, I'll tell you, White Abarrio was not one of my favorite horses, but I bet him in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And you know why I did? Because one of you guys, I was set to bet against him. And one of you guys sent me a note and said, you're really good handicapper, but I think White Abarrio is the one this year. And he was right. And I told him, I said, it's a game time decision, but we'll see. But I went back and I said, you know what? He's probably right. I bet him he won. I'm still not a fan of that horse, but I respect him. And under the right circumstances, I'm not surprised he won the Oaklawn Handicap. I would have been surprised if he won the Foster. But other than magnitude, last year's 3-year-old crop hasn't been able to beat older horses. The class from 2 years ago has shown to be very good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would couch that a little bit by saying that Burnham Square is pretty good on the turf. So it's not just the classic distances. I mean, let's see, Sovereignty's going to be better than you think. I mean, he hasn't shown it yet, but I'm not giving up on him. I wouldn't give up on Sovereignty. Now, Journalism, kind of harder to see a road back. Baeza, I think, is a really good horse. But as a whole, you're right. It was a top-heavy class last year, built Disco Time. I mean, they got some frauds in there. It happens every year. I mean, there's a lot of horses who are good at 3, and then they run against older, and they don't measure up. It happens. But yeah. Let's see. Alex, what are your thoughts using AI? I've been building my AI for 6 months, loading it with tons of data, besides the past performances and tangibles. Past mistakes, I get close, but still miss. I use as you guys know, from if you watch my posts, I use AI a lot now. I do not use it to handicap. Now, Mike Battaglia has been advertising on Facebook about his AI model to handicap races. Why would I do that? The fun is picking the winners yourself, right? Now, could you use AI to perhaps as a database to provide angles and filters and like the formulator does? Sure. Pick winners? No way. I'll do that. Thank you. I can beat a computer. You can too. We all can. I've beaten CAWs plenty of times. When you bet a horse 20-1 or better and they win, you beat the CAW. That's the way I look at it. They get their money. Sure, they do. They bet every single horse in different leverage positions. That's fine. But I beat everybody in the pool when I get a 25-1 shot, and I do it on my own. And you can too. AI has a use, but it has to be a companion to your own thoughts, in my opinion. You can't let it do all the work. You know how many times when I do these thumbnails for my video presentations, I type in all the race information. It spits out fields from like 3 years ago, or horses that aren't even in the race, and then it makes picks. If I put the word analysis in there, it will handicap all what it perceives are the races and give picks. I'm not trusting the machine to do that. I can do that just fine, thank you. And so can you. That would be my advice as far as AI. I think this way, we're going to become, just to get a little off the topic here, but to me, the more we have machines do things for us, the lazier our brains are going to get. AI, it bothers me. Letting machines do too much. And it's okay for a machine to do automated things like a hydraulic lift or something like that, but we can't do it physically. But thinking-wise, we can always think. It can help us compile data, do all the manual stuff that's too time-consuming. But I don't know, when you start relying on a machine to make, they can't read the race like you can. They can't look in the paddock and see the horses. They can't analyze a race visually. They can't interpret, mind you. They're not necessarily going to get creative. You're going to be able to see vulnerability it can't see. I'm convinced of that. I really am. I would never trust a machine to make picks for me. That's just me. Okay. I know it does, Laura. I understand. Listen, I caught myself. Uh, I caught myself on Saturday. I forget which race it was. I think it was the race after the Sanford, the sixth race. I didn't have a good feeling on it at all. I bet it anyway because I was at the track. I get it. I understand. It's hard because you think it's a missed opportunity. But if you don't have a good feeling about it, pass or throw $2 on a horse you like. But don't go all in when you're not 100% about it. It's not easy to, and I'll tell you, I pass on races all the time, but there are times where I'm at the track, I'll just bet it anyway, and you shouldn't. It's probably the hardest thing about handicapping that you have to do. You are absolutely correct, Robert. Changing a barn, it can be a very important thing. But I'll also give you an example of how it doesn't work. There was a horse about 24, 25 years ago named Aziri, who they still have a race named for at Oaklawn. Great filly. Ran against the boys all the time. She was trained by Laura Desereau, who was one of Charlie Winningham's angels. That's what they used to call me. He had these female assistants. And she won the Breeders' Cup Distaff, I think, with Aziri. Small trainer. She was on California circuit for a while. I think she's in breeding now. Well, as soon as she won the Distaff, her owners were like, oh, let's send her to D. Wayne Lucas. Well, think about it. Can D. Wayne Lucas still pay that much attention when you've got a stable full of 300 horses? Can he really give the type of attention that's sometimes needed? No. Jenna Antonucci with Arcangelo, she did a great job with that horse, but he would have just been a number with Todd Pletcher, right? Sometimes smaller is better if they can get the attention. Seabiscuit. Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons, big barn, big stable, Wheatley Stables. Didn't have time for him. Got a trainer who could take the time, figure him out. Tom Smith. But you're right. Yeah, but you can go both ways. You can go to a bigger outfit. Sometimes it's good. When you move from John Shareff's to Bill Mott with Baeza, I don't think it's much difference. I will say Shareff's, God rest his soul, had a little smaller outfit. Maybe take a little more time, a little more patience. But you don't lose much between those two, right? So, yeah, but it can make a difference. You're right. We need AI for dead heats because I do not believe in dead heats. You would never see that call in the Derby. Yeah, there's been a lot of arguments about dead heats. There was a dead heat yesterday between Zulu Kingdom and Mibago. And they had called Zulu Kingdom the winner. And then they went back and changed it to a dead heat. A lot of people got pissed about that. There was a dead heat earlier in the year that I benefited from. And there was the Expensive Queen and one other horse. And they dead heated. A lot of people didn't think. They kept showing the photo. It's not a dead heat. Look, this horse actually won by. If we ever have a dead heat in the dirt, I think they might have had one once. I may be mistaken with that, or very, very close to it. Part of the game. Let's see. I mean, wrong jocks, wrong year, wrong. What are you saying now, Debbie? Let's see. AI tried to give me journalism this year. Huge mistake. Make up your own mind. Come on, guys. I mean, don't rely on a machine. What's the fun in that? So you're wrong. Big deal. You might be right too when everybody else is wrong. Go for it. You got an opinion. Like I always say, everybody's opinion is based on some form of logic, unless you're a system better, which I've already said is crazy. If you have logic and you can logically come to a conclusion, who's to say you won't be right? Wouldn't it be? Don't you hate it when? And I did this when I started. I saw a long shot, but I didn't have the stones to bet it. And the horse won the race, and I'd be like, "Damn it! I knew I should have bet that horse." Lousy feeling. Take a shot. You got an opinion? Go for it. If you're really strong about it, go for it, both hands. If you're mild about it, bet accordingly. But if you got an opinion, stick with it. Stick with your strong opinions. Your mild ones, and you can kind of go either way. Maybe you want to hedge or pass the race. But if you got a strong opinion, you go for it. For Kentucky Derby, I mean. Oh, wrong jocks, wrong years. Yeah, you have to double check AI. I don't, if I want to do a thumbnail, I type the horses in myself, the entries, because I know it won't come up with the right field. I don't even bother with it now. What's the point? You guys know who's in the field. That's it exactly, Joe. That's exactly what I'm saying. There's so many things that aren't clear in the numbers themselves, but the interpretation of the numbers that I don't think a machine can do. I don't. I think it's very. Horse racing is an extremely human game. It's full of frailties. It's full, I mean, what's the point? If you're just going to let a machine do all the work, why even bother? If you bet the favorite every time, it's going to be a third of the time correct. I just, if you're not, I mean, we've been all talking about the mental exercise and the challenge. Well, if the machine's going to do it for you, it's not a challenge anymore, is it? No thanks. That's right, Father Sean. That's exactly right. Don't bet races you haven't handicapped. Correct. I totally agree. The key when using AI is making it think the way you want it to think, not how it wants to think. There you go. And, to me, using some of you IT related guys might know SQL is a compiler and it sorts data. It's a program. Now you can use that, or even Excel. You can create all kinds of filters if you can feed it enough data. And you can come up with the results that you want. A lot, we haven't talked about this, but a lot of handicappers make their own speed figures. And that's why they do it, because they don't want to use somebody else's interpretation of a figure. They want their own. So they factor in mathematically. I did it for a little while for Saratoga. And I had, to be honest, I couldn't even tell you what my formula was, but I was always concerned that pace wasn't accounted for enough in the figures. So I sort of made my own, and they actually kind of came out close to Brisnet. But I wanted pace to be predominant. And then you have to know the pars for each class level of race. And then you measure the times against the pars. And that's how you determine whether it's fast or slow. And, and then you got to figure out what the track was like. That's why, I don't want to do all that. Thorograph does that. If you want something that just can interpret data for you, that I think is a very favorable way to do it, Thorograph. But I notice it tells me, I notice it tells me what it thinks I want to hear a lot. Oh, yeah. Don't you ever notice when you're on YouTube, interestingly enough, a lot of things come up that you've searched for before on the side? Cookies, right? It just keeps compiling. I mean, that's the scary thing about it is you're not going to see you can go through the web all the time and find it's all stuff that you want to see, which sometimes is cool, but if that's all you ever see, kind of screws your perspective a little bit, doesn't it? Just my thought on it. I'm an old guy. Could you give me a brief? Okay, well, I will say this, Laura. I am not an authority on computer assisted wagering, but I will tell you what it does. The guy John Stetton over at Pass the Wire, really knows his stuff about CAWs. He's got articles on his website. He is an authority on them. I am not. But what a computer assisted wager does and why it infuriates so many people. It's an algorithm. And that's right, Sean. Yeah, Expensive Queen and Sagesta. Right. It's an algorithm. So let's say there's 10 horses in the race, it bets to win every single horse. It leverages based upon its probabilities the ones who think are most likely to win. So they might go 50% on one horse and then so on and so forth. The thing that bothers everybody about them is at post time, you think you've got a horse at 20-1 and all of a sudden you get him at 9-1 because the computer bets at literally the absolute last possible second. You and I don't see the odds change, but they do. When you're watching the race, sometimes you can see how the odds have changed. So what really pisses people off is I've really got a coup at 15, 20-1, and all of a sudden he's 8-1 because the algorithm accounted and leveraged their bets and drew down the odds with a lot of money. They put a lot of money into the pool, which the casino liked or the track likes because it generates a lot of revenue for their handle, which means they can increase their purse sizes. And that's one of the problems Santa Anita's having right now. They don't have casino money or they don't have a big handle and they can't get their purses up so they can draw horses shipped to California. It's a big problem. That's why you're seeing the Gold Cup or the Big Cap. Those used to be monster races. They had big purses. I used to 10, 12 horse fields every year of good horse. I'm talking about really good horses too. But the CAWs, that's what it is. It's an algorithm. And there are people who participate, investors in the algorithm, and they make money in every single race they're in. It's just a question of how much. The other problem with it is if they use an algorithm on a ADW, automated wagering, like Twin Spires or somewhere like that, like anybody who bets on those sites gets rebates. I get rebates. You do. TVG, whatever one you use, you get rebates. You get points for the amount of money you bet. Well, CAWs are betting in the millions of dollars. They get shitloads of rebates. They get tons and tons of points. So that's money they can throw back in for free. So that's why it's a problem. But it's confounding. I mean, there's a lot of experienced horse players walking away. I hate to say it because it's become harder and harder to win because when you've got a big score, when you think you're getting 35, 40-1, and all of a sudden it comes out at 15-1, kind of cuts in the ROI. So what it means is you've got to win a lot of little ones instead of big ones because you can't get the same ROI that you used to get because of the CAWs. So I hope that's part of it. Now, I am not an expert on it, but that's what, if you want to know why a lot of people don't like CAWs and why they're a necessary evil in some ways, is because they generate a lot of income for the tracks, and they can increase their purse sizes and draw more horses, better horses for better races. But they also kill the better because you don't get the same return on investment that you would have had if they weren't there. So I hope that's the best I can do with that. John Stetton is the guy, I promise you. Yeah, Joe, you're right. I mean, the odds, it sucks. I mean, I've been a victim of it. We all have. Wouldn't the problem be solved by requiring the CAW bets? Okay, they tried that. They have done that at Aqueduct. I believe they said COWs couldn't bet. I think they started, was like 5 minutes to post was when they had to quit. I don't know what the policy is now. I know Oakland, I don't believe has them at all. The CAWs are still probably betting through straw men, but not formally. From what I understand, Oakland's like no CAWs. They have a way to detect them. I don't know. That's what they tried to do, Laura. That's what they have tried to do. It's just really hard to regulate it. They would make perfect sense. But it's really hard to do. Really hard to do. There have been so many theories proposed about how to deal with CAWs and what do we do about them. And to me, I'd be like, I'm okay with CAWs, but how about making them donate a percentage of their winnings to Thoroughbred Aftercare, to Permanent Disabled Jockeys Fund? All the areas we've got problems, why don't let them rebate horse racing instead of horse racing rebating them? I don't know. I don't really have an answer for how to fix it. There's people a lot smarter than me working on it. Let's see. Do they have that's a good question, Jimmy. I don't know. I don't know. But you got to remember something about, well, I shouldn't even say. I mean, there are so many betting parlors or betting organizations. If you look at the European, there's like, you can place your bet with like 10, 12 ADW type of deals. And you still have the guys, you still, I believe at the track, you still have the old fashioned punters with the chalkboard. I don't know if they still have them or not, but it's a little different animal over there. I'm fairly certain they have CAWs over there. I'm some form of it. But this is so different, because there's really no information. There's some information, but a lot of it is, we don't get timed workouts. We don't know how these horses are training. We just can assume. As I told you guys, the Racing Post, you can have some numbers you can look at and that you can interpret. It's just a little different animal. It's like I'm never 100% when I handicap one of those races. I'm like, I hope I'm right, and I have been, but we should do a live when Champions Weekend in October. We should have a live day because it's in the morning. I'll set up shop and we can just all go on and play the races, European races, for fun. I love it. I love European races. I don't know about you guys. I love it. I hope I'm getting you guys interested in it because it's fun. Let's see. The shakeup. Who is the shakeup? I haven't seen you before. Hi. Nice to see you. What CAW aftercare? That's the owner's responsibility. Yes, that's true. But also remember, there's a lot of horses who aren't owned by anybody anymore, who don't race anymore. That's thoroughbred aftercare. Those are the horses we got to take care of, find a home for, make sure they're okay. They're not owned by anybody anymore. They don't run. Like I said, I'm not an expert on CAWs at all. To be honest, I try to stay away from the political stuff. I think it's a rabbit. You can drive yourself crazy. But it's necessary to know about it. But I try to stay away from that stuff. There are no CAWs in Canada. Cool. Let's go to Woodbine. Go to Assiniboia Downs. You guys ever play Assiniboia Downs? That's a lot of fun. Trust the Profits. They do Monday and Tuesday nights at Assiniboia Downs. It's a lot fun track to play. We running out of questions? What do you think, guys? I still haven't heard from Matthew, and I'm a little concerned. I hope he's okay. Matthew, if you're listening, I hope you're all right. Please let me know, and we'll reschedule. I know that I'm not worried about it. What does the live? You the guy that does the live capping for Gulfstream? Yeah, who is Shake Up? Shake Up, could you tell me what your name is, please? Just, I don't like calling people by their handle. I'm happy to have you, and I'm happy to listen to your opinions. You don't have to agree with me. That's okay. I just like to talk to, know who I'm talking to, if you will, if that's all right. Yep, the CAW online. Okay. I work nights too, Joe. Lucky I got this was a night off, but yep, the CAW online. Well, I would only offer to you, Shake Up, that if the CAWs are going to derive the type of benefit that they get from horse racing at the level they do, giving back, is that such a bad thing? That's what I say. I mean, I think it would be incumbent upon them to help sustain what they derive their income from. They can afford it. No? Curtain stretch. Yeah, they are. They're a sizzler. They're hysterical. Matter of fact, in the Cornhusker, there's a horse who Hero. What's his name? He runs at Assiniboia. He did run at Assiniboia. If it's the shakeup in thinking of he's a very good handicapper on YouTube, could very well be. I have no objection. The shakeup can't ban the best. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but they have every right to participate. But are they really players, or are they playing an algorithm? Are you trying to tell me that an algorithm isn't doing all the work? I'm not talking about they don't. I don't think they should be banned. I'm just saying there's got to be some way to balance the playing field a little bit. That's all I'm saying. I don't listen. You're entitled to make a living however you wish, but I want to keep the whole industry alive. That's all I was offering. You guys, do what you do. But I don't want to get rid. I don't think we can get rid of them. I don't think it's constitutionally fair to get rid of them. but I just want to the playing field to be balanced a little more. I think it ought to be. Got to find ways to do that. That's all. Yeah, Paul. I'm sure he's okay. I hope it's nothing serious. I really do. And he will be, God willing, if he's okay, he'll be on the show. I promise you. This isn't. I guarantee you, there's some logistical problem. What closed track do you miss the most? It ain't Aqueduct. I can tell you that. I was not a Aqueduct really went downhill by the time I started going there. Last time I went for the Remsen, I was disgusted. Smelled pot everywhere, dirty, no class at all. Terrible. I miss Narragansett because I'd have a track right around the corner from me. There used to be a lot of horse racing in Rhode Island. They had Lincoln Downs. And there was one other, and there were 3 tracks in Rhode Island at one point. But Narragansett was a very prominent racetrack, and the owners they stopped putting money into it. But Seabiscuit ran there. He started the Narragansett Special, I believe, was the first race he ran in for Charles Howard, and where he started his climb. They had some big time horses run at Narragansett, so that's the one I probably would miss. Suffolk was pretty good. It was okay, but it was in like a shitty part of Boston, in Revere, as we call it, and like north of Boston, like up Route 1. If you know Boston, which is a traffic nightmare unto itself, but to get to Suffolk was a bit of a pain in the ass. But it was an okay track. Let's see. But yeah, that'd probably be Narragansett. I would have loved to have seen Arlington. I never saw Arlington Park. I miss it dearly. I know a lot of people do. The Arlington Million was on my bucket list. I still may go to Colonial in August to see it. I used to love that weekend every year. They had like 14 stakes races at Arlington that day. You had the Secretariat, the Beverly D, the Arlington Million, the Forward Pass. Great day. And they used to get some good international fields because they had a great turf course. So that would be one I would really regret. I hope they get a big time track back in Chicago. I know Hawthorne's having a lot of trouble. I'd love to see a really big time track in Chicago, and I'll be there as soon as I can. Let's see. Says that. Okay, fair enough, Laura. But I don't smoke cigars indoors at the track, and you're not supposed to smoke pot indoors either, but that's all you smell inside. That's where I object to it big time. I don't mind you smoke in your own house. You can even smoke outside as long as I don't have to smell it. And well, if we a debate, we would neither of us would ever win. So I'll leave it right there. But I understand what you're saying. Okay, I'm still rolling. I bet the Appleby horse on top Saturday with the other Irish on the bottom, and the odds were looking at me in the face for a win bet on the winner. Big lesson learned that day. Yeah, if you had Kensington Lane, you did pretty well. Okay, let's see what the shakeup says. He still won't tell me his name, but that's okay. They understand math. If they are 30% of the handle, they are already doing the most. They are not better at picking. They understand betting. If it was picking, they wouldn't need batch betting. All right. But you don't feel that they shouldn't give something back? That's all I'm saying. They can do what they do. But I want to level the playing field a little bit. And if that means there's a give back there, a little bit of a rebate for dominating the pools, that's all I'm saying. I'm not an expert on it. I would be. It's not even fair for me to argue it with you because I'm not as informed about it as I should be. I try to just concentrate on handicapping races, but you're probably you're more right about they knowing how to bet as opposed to handy. Yeah, I would say that's correct. See, that's fair. I'm glad you like cigars. I was smoking a Bandolero Premium 50, if you know what they are. I'd never had one before. They're pretty good. Yeah, I can't stand the smell of weed. I can't stand it. 'Cause first of all, it doesn't smell like the weed that I used to smoke when I was 15 years old, many moons ago. It's a lot stronger now. It's a lot more pungent, and it's an unattractive smell, and it's a nuisance. Smoking pot doesn't bother me. I don't because it doesn't agree with me. But if you want to, that doesn't bother me. What does bother me is if I have to smell it and I get a contact buzz that I don't want. And in a racetrack, I mean, okay, I grant you. Cigar. I mean, I remember I had a guy. I got into it with a guy at Saratoga. I almost came to blows with him in the grandstand outside because he's like, "You're smoking a cigar near me," and I said, "I paid to get in just like you did. Smoking his cigars is legal here," and he was ripping, and I just was like, "I paid to get in here just like you did. Get out of my face." Couldn't believe it. It's, hey, we've all got pet peeves about things, but I just would, indoors, I don't want to smell pot. And when you walk into the clubhouse at Aqueduct, that's all you could smell. And it was just on a track. I had a headache. I'm like, I hadn't even lit a cigar yet. And I didn't light one inside. I was about to. And the security guys would go, "You can't light a cigar in here." And I said, "Okay, then how come I smell pot all over the place? Can't smoke pot in here either, right? Why do I smell it?" But I was a good boy. No, anyway. Okay. If you can't smoke, if they say you can't smoke at all, that's fine with me. If that's a policy, that's fine. But it's a problem that everybody thinks because pot's legal, you can smoke it wherever you want. And I'm like, no, you can smoke it in the confines of your own home. You can't smoke it out in public because it's a nuisance. Oh, shake up. No, that's fine. That's fine. And that's very nice of you to say. If you're talking about me, I appreciate it. Not a problem at all. Listen, if I know people involved with CAWs are very reticent to disclose that they are, and I get why, and that's okay. If you're part of one, I will just offer you an open invitation. I would love to just, if you wouldn't mind, and come on and talk about them because I would love to be educated about them. I don't have any problem. We can black out your face. You don't want people to see who you are. I don't care. It's no big deal. But I would very much like to be enlightened about it. But you have some good points. You're correct. You're probably more of an authority on it than I am. But I do appreciate the thoughts. I just wanted to let you know, and I'm not. No offense whatsoever. I just would like an informed discussion because I'd like to be educated a little bit. It would help me because I can understand it better. Okay, Jimmy tells me the Shake Up guy has a YouTube channel, the weirdest show I've ever seen. It just shows him marking up his program. It's okay. Hey, it's the results, right? It's okay with me. I'm not here to judge anybody. Listen, I'll tell you something. I've talked with industry people about this too. The way I look at it, we're all in this together. I do my little part. All my competitors, they all do their part. They've got their format. They have the way they do things. We're all part of promoting the love of horse racing. So to me, I don't want to criticize anybody. I won't, because I might do it privately. I might have some things that I don't like, but to me, it's more important that we promote the game. And if there are certain people that I would never listen to. I used to, but I don't anymore. And there are people out there I don't necessarily respect, but a lot of people do, and that's okay. That's right, Joe. That's it exactly. That's it exactly. That's it. And like I said, there's different strokes for different stroke folks. There are some people out there who've had shows and people gravitate to them and they think they're the Bible. And I've watched them and I don't see it, but they do, and that's okay. I know that there are things that I could do format wise that perhaps would grow this a little faster, but I'm just not going to do it because I want to do this a certain way and I think it works and I think it's unique, and I'm about teaching. I'm about educating. I want us to all get better. You guys help me, believe it or not, you do. And if we just listen to each other, then we'll all get better at it. And I just want to promote the love of handicapping. And so we do it our way. But hey, there's a lot of ways. People just, sometimes people just want somebody to tell them how to bet. And that's okay. If you want to make it, you want me to make a decision for you, that's all right. What I would always say is, though, don't come back and complain if it doesn't hit, because but well, that's good, Sean. That's all right. We got a couple of new people here, which I'm very happy to see. Horse racing tip. I have not seen you before. I'll ask you again if you wouldn't mind telling me your name. I like to call people by their name instead of their handle, but good to have you. Take the rebates away from the CAWs and they go away. They're destroying horse racing. They're contributing to it. I'll go that far. In some respects. They're also helping it. That's why they're a necessary evil in some respects. But again, I'm not an authority, and I really don't feel confident about talking about them, to be honest. I'd love to get John on to talk about them, but in the house, lots of great content on YouTube, many shows you can pick up aspects or approaches to get you eventually outside the box, as it's parimutuel to have to bet value. There you go. In the house, welcome aboard. I hadn't seen you before, and also, what's your name? I'd love, just so I know who you are. I know who I'm talking to. If you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, that's right. Many ways to skin a cat. What's the seventh? Oh, this is I got this at Churchill Downs, and this is Claiborne Farm. They're silks, by the way. I got this at Churchill Downs. When you go to the Kentucky Derby Museum, they have pins for all the saddle blankets, 1 through 20, I believe they are. 7's my number. I was born on April 16th. 1 and 6 is 7, so zodiac number is 7. That's why I picked it. And I didn't even know that until years later. You want to hear something funny? My football number was 77. My lacrosse number was 77. And I always wanted 77, and I didn't know why, and that's why. It was my number. It's kind of freaky. Anyway, off the beaten path there a little bit. That was just Joe asking me what the 7 is. We running out? What do you think? Been almost 3 hours. This has been a good one. I've really enjoyed this one, by the way. It's one of my favorite ones. Um, for those of you who are late to coming on, we were supposed to have Matthew DeSantis tonight, and unfortunately, Matthew, he has not been on. We're concerned. He has not been on YouTube. He has not replied back to me, and he hasn't been on X for quite some time. So, Matthew, if you're listening, thoughts and prayers. I hope everything's okay. I hope to hear from him very soon. As soon as I do, if everything's all right, we will reschedule. I know we will. It's very unlike Matthew not to get back to me. So, never had a number. Okay. Oh, so we got a couple people who know each other in the house and the shakeup. Both know each other. Okay. Oh, hey, take all comers. Good to have you. I hope you got something out of it. I did. It's good for you to. Give me a little something about CAWs to think about. It's always good. Is that it? What do you think? Are we there? Oh, Laura. Okay, let's see. No other show like yours. Don't change your thing. Thank you for doing that, race. No other show would do that. You got. Oh, well, you're very kind, Laura. Listen, you guys are great. You really are. I can't tell you how much I enjoy doing this. And I really do. And I should have been a teacher. And I like to educate. Any job I've ever had, I always end up training the newbies. It's just something I always enjoy. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it. And, that John Wooden used to say, they ask me why I teach. Where can I find such pleasant company? So there you go. This is great. I should have done this a long time ago. And like I said, I don't know it all. That's why I try to get guests like Tim. I think you guys got a lot out of what Tim had to say last week. Matthew's going to come on again when everything's okay. He'll be on. Kaylee's coming on. Father Sean. That may be a hint. Marty's a great guy. I was talking with Marty. He and Kaylee were and Matthew were all at the Jim Dandy bar at the end of the day. Marty's a great guy. I really like him a lot. He's a really nice guy. He would give us the owner's perspective and maybe the business perspective. He's a pinhooker, I believe. I don't know that for sure, but he deals in horses quite a bit. Would give us a perspective. He was bringing things up to me that I'd always suspected, a lot of them, but I didn't know for sure. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought too. And so he's a great guy. Yeah, well, I'm going to try to get him on, I think. Let's see. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. You, Father Sean. Father Sean, would you be interested in coming on, sir? Yeah, I would. I'd actually. I thought about that. I want you guys all to have your chance. If you want to come on, and whatever the case may be, if you have something you feel strongly about, you want to talk about, if you just want to be on as a companion to me, okay, then I'll tell you what. After next week, Jamie's going to be on. Thank you, Jamie. We're going to have Jamie on to talk about his app. And we're going to have Father Sean on too. I will plan it and make sure. Indeed he could. Yes, Laura. Laura, I'd like you to be on too, because you seem like you'd be a lot of fun to have on. I like your passion. I love your perspective. And the fact that you have a thirst for knowledge is a great thing. It really is. And listen, I know it's hard when you're learning stuff and there's a lot of stuff that is tough. But you stick with it, and and I can't wait for the day when, you get your big score and you go, hey, Alex, this is how I did it. And you know what? When it happens, guess what we're going to do? You're going to come on here. No, you're not comic relief. You're going to come on here and you're going to go through the form and you're going to show us all the things that led you to make your big score. And you guys go back in my videos. I got one about handicapping a long shot. I did a couple years ago. That I think you might find interesting for some turf weight too. But Yes, but rest assured, we had Uncle Sully and Father Sean, Laura. I'd like Tyler to come on too. Um, and yeah, I want this is a community. I want us all to have a lot of fun. You hit a pick five for 7,800 already. Well, that's a pretty good score. That's a pretty good score. You got the form. Can you break it down for us on how you did it? If you do, now next Sunday I got a guest. I got a guest, Sean. Like I said, I've dropped a little hint on who it is, but I have a guest next week, and then we've got to make up Matthew. We're gonna get it. It'll happen. John Stetton, you both really try to help us understand this game. That's really the idea. You're very welcome, Jimmy. That's John is. I have never met John personally. We've traded correspondence quite a bit, and my favorite thing about John is his willingness and passion for giving back to the sport. He's done very well, and he's very big on giving back, and that he doesn't have to do it. He doesn't need the money, obviously, and he just likes to give back. And he's a watchdog too. That we need that people who are in the know. They know a lot of people. They know how the backstretch works, and he does his thing. He's a great teacher too. He has and I've learned a lot from John, a lot, and he's very wise, and he's very articulate too. I'm hopefully going to meet him at the Breeders' Cup this year. That's my goal. But yeah, John Stetton, I can't say enough good things about. Travis, a live show from Traverse Day. Well, we could. We could. Now, the thing you got to remember is, and I looked into this. Because I wanted to do like an AM show with Carson Blevins, because we did one for I think it was the Saudi Cup, or we did one on Trust the Prophets once. I thought it was kind of fun. It was like Regis and Kathy Lee. And she's like, there's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of credentials. You got to go through a whole lot of stuff to do it. Now, we could try to do it rogue. I mean, I could certainly give you a feed from my phone from what I'm doing. That's no problem there. But to do something a little more formal is, you got to work a little bit at that. You got to have an area. You got to get credentials, all that. So at some point, I don't know if we're there yet. It's a thought, though. It's a thought. I have thought about it. Let's see. I think you should assign us a horse for the Breeders' Cup, and we have to do the 4 components. Okay, well, I'm not going to grade you. I'm not going to grade you. You know why you can't grade? If I did a class, it would be pass-fail, because the obvious thing is we don't know until the race is over, and even if the race was over and you picked the winner, if there were conditions or such where it wasn't realistic before the race that you picked, I don't know. But just to evaluate a horse, sure, I could. We could do that. We could have, for every single Breeders' Cup race, we could give out horses and say, okay, break it down for me, form, class, speed, and pace. Sure. If you guys want to do it, I'd be happy to. There's worse things you could do. I used to do the pace numbers for every Breeders' Cup race and turf, believe it or not. Back in the day, I said, maybe it'll make a difference. It doesn't, but yeah. Oh, I love Gio. Gio's a good friend of mine. Gio is passionate. You can't discount that. He is very passionate. He puts in the time. He puts in the work. He's the mule of handicappers, man. He puts in. I mean, God bless him. I wish I could put that kind of time in and really deep dive like he does. And he's a great guy too. Really nice guy. And John, like I said, I've never met him, but John is a very good teacher, and he has a lot of very solid foundations. And when he talks, listen. When he does those little plays of the day, he's hit on a lot of those. And his perspective, I mean, he's come up with very different perspective than me a lot of times. And things I hadn't thought of that I've seen that he's great at tracking trips. He's got that part of his app, tracking trips. Very good resource. Excellent resource. Oh yeah, no, Sean, you're going to come on. You're coming on. We'll make it happen. Yes, that's okay. Well, No, listen, I didn't intend necessarily for this to be like a class, but I guess it is in a certain respect. This to me is more of like the way they do it at Oxford or at Harvard. That you have a don, which is kind of like a faculty advisor sort of guy. So, you basically you sit with him and he might give you a pointer here and there or say, the direction you're heading in, maybe you could do this, maybe you do that. And that's very informal. And, listen, if you want to think of it as a class, that's fine with me. If I can do anything, Don, if I can do anything for you guys, just point in the right direction, because you're going to teach yourself. When, I won't teach you, you will teach yourself. This is the kind of thing, all I can do is point you towards a place, and I can say, this is something that I've noticed in the past that maybe works. But what you'll do is you're developing a ken of knowledge. You have this big bag of tricks, and if I can point you towards learning about those, and like I said, I read books, and then I picked up quite a few things on my own just by playing the races on a regular basis. And I think one of you guys had called me a psychological handicapper, and sometimes it feels like that. It's like the numbers almost don't matter. It's just, what's the trainer intent? What are we trying to accomplish with this race? And if you can get to a point when you can start analyzing each horse in a race and do it from that perspective, where you can just put it all together, it's going to make all the difference in the world. It really will. Well, listen, guys, we've been over 3 hours now, and I've enjoyed every bit of it, but I think life gets in the way sometimes, as I like to say. There's videos out there for the Cornhusker, the Iowa Derby, and the Indiana Derby. I put them all out today. We're going to have Jimmy. I will, like I said, I will take care of you as far as the card for this Saturday. I'm going to talk to my webmaster and see what the problem is, and we will fix it. So you will have Saturday's card available to you on the website if you'd like to try. It's only $9.99, and you get best bets, value plays, long shots like you've seen me do before, full cards, and some sequences if I think hold water. So that will be all available to you as well. Plus, we're going to take care, Paula. Take care, Sean. Have a good one. And we will also thank you, Nina. Take care. And thank you, Joe. We will have Saratoga, the individual stakes, for Saturday as well, probably as Friday. Yes, I know, Jimmy. I got it already. And I'll take care of you. As soon as I have the card done, you'll be the first one to get it. That I promise you. Thank you, Laura. Take care. Okay, guys, that's it for me. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.